Gotcha.
This type of stuff.
So a lot of marketing is online, right?
Yeah, all my marketing. Yeah.
I got it. And then for you, I'm going to have you be on standby. I'll have you guys
Flipping cameras or cameras?
this one, I'm going to go up in intro real fast.
Sounds good.
Bro, that's yeah, it is. I'm about to talk a little bit shit about just
Oh yeah, Boyd, real quick.
business, technical,
Yeah, I mean, Owen was a huge mentor of mine. Owen was a huge mentor of mine. From what I remember,
Okay, yeah, good.
So,
Good info.
Owen,
Is this gonna be loud, Ibra?
that,
Yeah, I'm gonna stop it anyways. You're gonna stop.
or I mean, I can keep you muted until I get back here, but they
Nah,
just
it's
won't.
chill
hear me.
because you're gonna intro anyways. Yeah. How long have you been working with RSD?
I'm just volunteering for the event.
All right, and
Yeah. Been a lot of fun.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the last day of Austin Free Tour. How are you guys feeling? Come on, how are you guys feeling? All right, I know a lot of you probably went out last night. Some of you even online probably, went out and took the advice that we've been talking about, Owen and all the other instructors. Well, today I'm bringing up somebody who you got to see last night. And how many of you actually took the advice of what Boyd was talking about last night? All right, by show of hands. All right, how many of you actually felt a little bit more confident? A little bit more certain about what you wanted to do in life? All right, well, today I'm bringing Boyd back up. For those of you here, you probably know him, but for those on Zoom joining in, Boyd, he became a millionaire at the age of 21. How many of you would love to learn how to do the same thing? Or at least, if you're older than that, to at least get there faster. He also created his own marketing and consulting company. Learning marketing, learning sales copy, the stuff that Owen is always talking about. How many of you would love to learn how to do that? Just by a show of hands. Put a yes in the chat on Zoom if that's something you're interested in. Not only that, but he also is a professional NLP coach, neural linguistic programming, understanding how the mind works. How many of you loved that exercise that he went through yesterday and felt different? How many of you felt fucking amazing after that exercise? Well, we're going to be doing some more of that today. Most important, though, is, don't take this for granted, especially all of you on Zoom, because I know you're probably at home watching this or driving. All of you, this is a free tour. It's free. Boyd, he normally pays, people will pay him $90K to do one-on-one with him. For the information that you're about to learn, 90 fucking K. So make sure that you take notes, lock in on Zoom, and let's all, give it up for Boyd.
Gentlemen, how we doing? Good. How we doing? Good. Hey! Okay, let's keep the energy up like we had it last night, shall we? Even though everybody, nobody obviously in this room would ever be hungover because we don't practice that shit, do we? Who's hungover? Exactly. Don't drink alcohol like a bitch in here. So, anyways, let me figure this shit out. So, look guys, what we're going to chat about with you guys today is, yesterday we've done a lot mindset, a lot of internal strategies to feel like a different person and therefore take different actions and therefore produce different results. And today we're going to talk about a few more strategy things as well. Don't get too excited that I'm doing this right now. And And I'm also going to open it up. Like, if anyone has an interesting question, we might go off of it, we might not. I have some things that I can talk about. But just going off of yesterday, is anyone here that has like an interesting question or something that they want to expand on a little bit? You can shout it out. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, knowing all this, the information of how to lead yourself, how do you perceive like leading others who are clearly like in a lower paradigm of thinking and bring them up to your level? Like, it's, in a perfect world, everyone would know this stuff, but most people just don't. So the benefit of like creating a list.
Yeah, and that's a good question. And look, ultimately, if you're going to be doing this stuff, right, and if you're going to try to move up in life and you're going to reinvent yourself, you're going to reinvent your identity, one of the things that holds people back, and this will be a good jump board to get into stuff that we're going to chat about today, is the expectation that your peers and other people that know you have of you. That's a big thing that holds people back, okay, from actually being that person. Because if you think to yourself, right, think about the peer group that you have back at home, or if you live here, and just think about if you were to just all of a sudden act wildly different, right, amongst them. How comfortable would you be doing that? Just acting wildly different whilst you're amongst them. You probably feel like, oh shit, makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And the reason for that is that humans, by kind of default, and you can change these things, right? You can kind of work these things out of your system. Guys, we have like 6 colors of markers today, so let's party. It's kind of like people, going back to my beautiful human, have this external locus of focus, really, where they kind of focus on external stuff and external people to tell them who to be, okay? What identity to be. Like, if you were going into a room, think of this as a thought experiment. If you were going into a room and you knew for a fact that everybody with 100% certainty in that room thought that you were a billionaire and that you were massively famous, like for example in another country because they don't know you, right? How much differently would you show up if you knew for a fact that people had that kind of an expectation of you? Who here would show up wildly different if people had that expectation of you? Raise your hand. Exactly. Now, most people, as shown here in this little thought experiment, have this external focus, right? They focus externally on what people expect from them and what people think of them to tell them how to act, behave, feel, how loud to speak, all these types of things. Does that make sense? Yes. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to shift that internally, and you want to realize, coming back to kind of the point and the lesson to reiterate for you guys that we talked about yesterday, where it's like most people look externally for the things that need to give them certain feelings, right? Where if you shift that, flip that around, and you go internally and you decide what would be workable in this situation, yeah, and you produce that externally by imagining, by stepping into it, like everything we talked about yesterday. Now you're really in high performance, and that is really what it came down to yesterday with everything that we've covered. If you haven't seen it, watch the recording for everybody on Zoom as well. So, building on top of that, right, all those mindsets, all those beliefs that we spoke about yesterday, let's chat a little bit about who you are as a person, okay? Because ultimately, when you are really confident, when you are really certain in yourself, it's gonna... Ibra, is this fine if I'm sitting on this mic little thing?
Yeah, it's fine.
So ultimately, if you know who you are, right, you're gonna be able to express that and qualify people inward to you. Okay, this is really what it's about, to be socializing at a high level. Okay, it's not about trying to fit into someone else's frame of mind. It's about knowing who you are. First of all, before that even, having a certain certainty, a certain level of confidence in yourself, in your body, that you've trained and conditioned into yourself, right? And I told you exactly how to do that yesterday, which is more about the emotional side and the belief side. So going a layer on top of that, that's the main thing. That's the basis, foundational piece. Going a layer on top of that is about knowing who you are as well. Like, what are your opinions, right? What are your values? What are your principles in life? What will you do? What won't you do? What do you stand for, etc.? And what kind of life do you want to live? And what kind of people would be great companions, team members, business associates for that life? Okay? Those things that I just mentioned, who here actually has a great idea about the answers to these questions for themselves? Actually, like in depth. Okay, so most people don't, right? And I don't blame you, because nobody ever tells you to write this shit out or think about this stuff. So if you then go into any social interaction, how the fuck are you supposed to qualify someone if you don't even know who the fuck you are and who you want to hang out with? Does that make sense? Yes. Does that make sense? Yes. So you want to get crystal fucking clear on who you are as a person, what you want out of life, the goals that you have, the values that you have, what's important to you in life, what's not important to you, and what kind of person in every area of your fucking life would be a great associate, companion, business partner, whatever. And from that place on, you're gonna have a very strong frame whenever you interact with someone. Now, as I mentioned, yesterday we talked about the psychology, right? The underlying emotional aspect of it. Because you can have all this stuff, but if you still don't have the certainty in your body, you can know all of it, but you can still not communicate at a level of certainty. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Yes. So it's like, that is the foundational. The emotional piece, the mindset emotional piece is like the 80% of it. Now we're digging into a little bit of the strategy that you can throw on top of that, like some cherries on that motherfucking pie. Okay? But of course, nobody eats pies here, right? So, either way, if you have clear who you are as a person, you're going to be able to pull in the people that you're supposed to connect with, okay? Who was out last night, like socializing, talking to people, whatever? Exactly. So, if you're out and you're socializing, and you just are wandering around, right? You're talking to people, and you're just going in there with a locus of focus. Locus of focus. Say that. Locus of focus. Locus of focus. Locus of focus. You're going in there with a locus of focus that is geared towards just trying to please people, right? Trying to connect with people and whatever, because you don't have clear who you're supposed to connect with, right? When I go out and I talk to somebody, it's the other way around, guys. It's like, I'm chatting to you, I'm asking you questions, I'm giving you, either a good look, either a bad look, I'm moving away, I'm moving towards you, whatever. Any of these types of things. And what is that sub-communicating, guys? Someone shouted out, what does that sub-communicate, what I do?
The buyer.
The buyer, exactly. And a lot of people talk about sales, right? Because, like, who here wants to start business or is already in business? Pretty much everybody, right? And a lot of people talk about this stuff to where, like, oh, master your sales. Like, bro, if you want to master your sales, and this shit is all intertwined. We're talking about business, social, okay? Even health, because if you view yourself higher, you're going to have less stress in your body even, right? So all these things are highly related. But people talk about mastering sales. I don't even talk about sales ever, because I don't even call it sales. Because what does the word sales presuppose, guys? You're trying to convince somebody of some shit, okay? I ain't never trying to convince somebody of nothing, okay? Because I am the buyer, and I don't care who you are. I will never, ever sell myself. Because that is a chasing behavior, and even if you break it down even further, it is unfucking ethical. Why? Because imagine you're a doctor, okay? And someone comes into your office and says, I have this and this problem, whatever, and just right away, without even asking them any questions, you're just like, oh, here are some couple medicines, buy these medicines. And you're just gonna, that's unethical, okay? You're going to jail if you're a doctor and you do that shit. You're going to fucking jail, guys. Now, if you're in business and you're trying to sell, right, and you're there in a sales meeting, I literally don't, like, legit don't call it like that. My sales team has a script, right? We have a little script. It says, literally the title says qualification script. Because I don't even want the word sales in my whole team, okay? Because everybody needs to, the words you use, guys, determine a lot of, like, the meaning that you attribute to things. If you're thinking, like, even if, say that you're hanging out with a girl or something, and you're like, she's like, what are you gonna do today? Or a guy, You're like, oh yeah, I got a couple sales meetings. Now you just primed your brain to think from being the seller in those meetings. Does that make sense? Yes. So understand the impact of your language, okay? Be very aware of what you say and what meaning you attribute to all of these different things. So in your calendar, if you do have sales meetings, you're going to be calling it qualification conversations, okay? Might be a little long, but I don't give a fuck. It's going to help you. And every time someone asks you what is on the schedule, you're going to say that because that's how I want you to view it. Because that's the meaning that'll work for you, okay? And even if someone gets on the call or you're in the meeting and someone says like, oh yeah, I'm here in this sales meeting or whatever, or are you going to sell me? Any of these types of stuff, you simply say, listen, brother, I'm just here to see if I could actually help you and see if you would be the right fit for me to, help you and work with you. Right? We don't work with everybody. It's just we choose the people that we can get the best results with. I'll take it from there. Right? If I think I do, then I'll explain to you what it looks like to work together. And you can make a decision from there. That's the frame you're coming from in business. And now if you shift that to a social aspect or a nightclub context or whatever, if you're talking to someone like that, you go from the exact same frame. Now, obviously, guys, this is something that you cannot fake. Because if you fake this shit, it's just gonna come off toxic. It's gonna come off like you're trying to do some shit that you're not, right? How annoying is it when some dude is trying to sell you on some shit and then he's like, trying to say this thing, this little riddle that he just repeated off somebody else, maybe of me, of like, oh yeah, we just like looking for clients right now, but you can see right through it. How annoying is that? Put your hand up if that shit's fucking annoying, right? So you don't want to be coming from that place, and that's where, once again, to link these things together, yesterday comes in. The emotional aspect comes in. Your identity, your belief in yourself is ultimately the first thing that is really going to determine your outcomes, your results, and the subcommunication that you can't otherwise change. You can say a bunch of shit, I can tell you what to say, but if you don't have yesterday in fucking check, if you don't follow the 21 days to shift your emotional blueprint there, your identity blueprint, it's not going to fucking work, okay? Can't help you. So, once again, this is all just building on top of that foundation, assuming that you're doing it. Now, if you're in these types of conversations, right, in sales or in business, it's important that, once again, first of all, the emotional certainty of you, but second of all, also of your product. And these are like two different things, right? So you have you as a person and like, basically, let's say this is a barometer, your level of certainty in that, in yourself, in your confidence, your self-esteem, and then you have your product, right? If you're doing a product. And obviously, in like a social situation or whatever, this would be the same. Or you could say like your life is the product, whatever, but it's really the same. Okay, so you gotta think of yourself like your product, and like your product, you think of your product like yourself. And I'll explain what I mean. Who here has ever thought about like, oh, how do I raise my self-esteem? How do I feel better about myself? Everybody, right? And it's a big key to life. Yesterday we spoke about how to kind of engineer your identity and get more confidence and stuff like that. Now, self-esteem is something that's very correlated, but it's slightly different as well. So if we think about it, okay, if you were to really have to feel really good about a product that you're selling, right? If you wanted to get your certainty up, being able to sell this. Someone shouted out, what would you do? What could you potentially do to feel more convinced and more positive about the product that you're trying to sell, whether it's a service or product, whatever?
Use it yourself.
Okay, why?
So that way you have more belief from your own personal results.
Exactly, results, and that's the big key. Anyone else? Guys, what did we speak about yesterday?
Just become as knowledgeable as possible on your product.
Absolutely, definitely something else.
Find all the positives of your product.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Yeah, so look, ultimately, guys, it comes down to like all the positive associations that you have in your mind about your product, right? So you're gonna have to really dig in and see, the most important thing is the results, like my man said over here. It's like, if you, like for example, my qualification team, sales team, what I do if I want to get their certainty up is I let them talk to the customers that have gotten great results, right? I let them see those results. In the Slack channel, we sent this shit through. And we send it through and we send it through. So your certainty and their certainty is going to be up about the product and what it can do for people. Because now, if they're in a sales meeting and they know that this shit really works, they know that this shit produces 20 points and they're only asking 5 points, whether it's money or whatever it may be, right? Let's say 20K, 5K, whatever. They know that, and they know that for a fucking fact because they keep seeing it over and over again. Now they're obviously going to sub-communicate that this shit is something they should really be doing, okay? And they're going to have that certainty. Now, if we pull that concept into yourself, okay, kind of into yourself as a product, as an identity, it's about what we did yesterday and kind of re-engineering and figuring out, okay, we built yesterday the identity you need to achieve the certain goals, okay? Now, you need to build an identity that you actually value and that you like, okay? So, let me ask you this question. And okay, I'm gonna ask one person to shout it out. Name someone who you really hold in high esteem, like you really respect this person. Anyone, shout it out. Huh?
Owen.
Great example. Okay, so let's go with Owen, because everybody knows Owen. So let me ask you this, bro. What about Owen makes you respect him so much?
Self-made man.
Okay, and what allowed him to be a self-made man?
Work ethic.
Anything else that you respect about him?
He's authentic.
Okay, let's write these things down. The big G, Owen. Okay, so we said work, right? Work ethic. Then what do we say? Authentic, yeah? What else? Okay, level of confidence, yeah? Confidence / courage. Okay. Yeah, that motherfucker be funny, isn't he? Humor. Okay, so we can stop right here. So obviously we did this with different people, right? So to you, this might be more important, authenticity, right? To you, this might be more important, work ethic. Okay, so it's about, you got to do this for yourself. We're just getting a little bit of an example here. So what you want to look at, guys, is if that's a blueprint, and you can take a few people, right? But it's like these things start to get very clear when you just compare it to, what it would be like with another person outside of yourself. Like a lot of people nowadays on social media and shit, they talk about how to get more self-love and whatever. Like, how do you really get more self-love? I mean, it's kind of a gay concept, but how do you get more self-love? It's just like, how would you love someone else more, guys? What would make you love someone else more? Just treat yourself like that, okay? So how would you get more self-esteem is by figuring out what you hold in high esteem, what qualities, okay? What actions, what continuous behavior, not what fucking result, okay? Because let's be honest, are there people that have $100 million fucking dollars and they just hit the fucking lottery, okay? Or they just got whatever, lucky or some shit, or let me give a great example. The Cash Me Outside chick, right? She probably got $100 million, but it's just because she said some stupid shit on Dr. Phil. Who here really holds her in very high self-esteem? Very high esteem? I don't see no fucking hands. And there's no, not throwing shit at her. She's doing great, but I'm just saying, it's not the result that actually makes you respect someone or yourself. It's the actual qualities and behaviors that person has that allowed them to have their result. So, whilst we're doing this, think of someone in your own mind who you really respect highly. It could be Owen, could be someone else. And think about this. What are the top 1 to 6 qualities, or let's say 4 to 6 qualities, that you really respect in them? What makes you really respect them? And it better not be how they look or whatever, because once again, I mean, if that does come up, question it. Ask yourself, why do I respect that so much? Why is that what I respect about them? Maybe it's because they worked for it. Maybe because they go to the fucking gym every day. Whatever, but dig in beneath the surface, okay? And really start figuring out what is an identity that you respect in someone else. And what I want you to do, this is gonna be an active exercise, okay? Write this shit down. What I want you to do then is I want you to write down at every quality on a scale of 1 to 10, How high do you feel like that person embodies that quality? Okay, so let's say, for example, Owen, you think his work ethic is 10 out of 10, right? Just examples. His his authenticity is definitely 10 out of 10. We can all say that. I can't even fucking read that shit. His confidence, let's say whatever, right? 9 out of 10, just to get some different numbers. Get it down like that, okay? For the other person. You should be able to do this in 1 minute, guys. So, moving on. Then what you're gonna do is, next to that, you're gonna write down your own name, okay? And you're gonna just write down like all these qualities that you just mentioned in the other person, because those are the ones that you respect highly, right? And to really get all the qualities that you respect, you can use different persons and whatever, different people and whatever, but you're gonna write down your own name next to it, and then you're gonna rate yourself on each of these qualities. 1 out of 10. How high do you think you embody that quality as of this moment right now? And then you can kind of get a little bit of an average out of those numbers, right? So let's say it's like 1 is 9, then it's 6, 1 is 2, and 1 is 7, and 1 is 2 again. Okay, what's the average of that? I have no fucking clue, but let's say that would be 4. So, all encompassing, you score yourself a 4 out of 10 on all of these qualities that you hold in high esteem. Make sense? So if you're wondering, like, hey, why do I not feel fucking good about myself? I mean, there's your answer. Is this making sense?
Yes.
So once again, guys, I'm just gonna give you this very important understanding that I've reiterated like 100 fucking times now, but you can have this certainty, this confidence, everything that we talked about yesterday without even doing this shit, okay? Because you can look at your mind and say, I allow myself to feel like I am the motherfucking shit without anything changing right now. That's what we talked about yesterday. And what you can do to change this is to either change the rules that you have in your mind, right? So like, okay, if you widen your spectrum for what you would call, for example, work ethic, then you could maybe make yourself think that you're a 10 or whatever. Or you can actually get your work ethic up, okay? So it always comes down to this, guys. Everybody has a consciousness, right? Everybody has a part of their brain that observes themselves and all the actions that they're taking on a day-to-day basis continuously. Now, if those actions are wildly fucking different than what you just wrote down, now you're getting into a problematic area. And from there on, the only thing you can do, once again, is either wildly change your perception about reality, meaning the rules you have about yourself. Like, let's say, for example, this. Let's say you hold discipline in high esteem, right? But then you grab that out of your subconscious, because that's what we just did, right? Through questioning, these qualities that we just wrote down were in your subconscious, but now it's in your conscious mind. If you change it now and then condition it by remembering and reminding yourself every day of this list, now it's going to become subconscious again. This is what NLP is about, guys. It's like you have your mind, right? You have your conscious mind, and then you have your subconscious, okay? In here, you have all these positive and negative associations, just giving you a basic understanding. And you have all this data, this identity, these beliefs, etc. Okay, these rules, these assumptions, and whatever. What we do through these exercises, that's why I want you all to fucking participate, is we bring this up into consciousness, and then we can actually change it, right, to something that does work for us. So let's say one of these beliefs or whatever that we've gotten upwards in the past, today or yesterday, you notice like this is unworkable, okay? This is not workable for getting me the results in the life that I want. Now you can look at it, right? And you can take that belief system. A belief system is like glasses, right? You can take that shit, you can look at it, and I'm gonna be like, I got some dope ass glasses, so I'm gonna keep them. But let's say that you look at that and you're like, yeah, this belief system, right? These glasses that I view the world through, these are not workable for me, okay? I'm viewing through these glasses, everything's so dark, okay? I'm not able to trust anyone because I'm so anxious, because I have a belief that every girl will cheat on me or every guy will cheat on me, right? So if I find that out, now I'm gonna be like, in my consciousness, am I writing that shit down? I'm like, that shit isn't workable, okay? I'm gonna put that right here. And I'm not gonna wear that anymore. I'm gonna put on some pink glasses. Maybe that's a little bit too much of the good side of it. But, I'm gonna put on some neutral glasses, okay? I'm gonna go in with reality instead of just having this tainted view of reality. Is this making sense? Yes. So look, it's all about figuring out what's in your subconscious through these questionings, okay? And bringing that up, and if it's workable, keep it. If it's unworkable, shift it. Then condition it through the 21-day plan that we went through yesterday. That's all clear? Yes. Awesome. So, what I just mentioned about the qualities that you have and how you rate yourself, this is ultimately good. Look, a lot of people about this whole self-esteem thing, right? It's like, guys, it's being talked about so fucking much, but you gotta understand there's no one size fits all in this self-esteem, okay? So, you gotta understand that everybody has different values. Okay, everybody has a different blueprint of what would make them happy, confident, feel good about themselves, fulfilled, etc. And so that's why I'm having you write this shit down and figure it out for yourself. Okay, so you can fulfill these needs. Now, a lot of people, when we talk about self-esteem, they try to attack this directly, okay? And what they do by that is like, and self-esteem, by the way, to just define it for you guys, is just how much do I like myself? How much worth or value do I place upon myself? You could say self-worth, self-esteem, who gives a shit, right? It's all the same. So either way, what creates self-esteem is viewing yourself in line with what you would respect most in a person. Does that make sense? Yes. So, ultimately, your self-esteem is going to be up to the measure of the gap. You can write this shit down. Up to the measure of the gap of the person that you think you are, okay? The gap between the person you think you are and this blue motherfucker who's cool, a person who you think is the shit, okay? The blueprint, the qualities, etc. of who you think is the shit, okay? So that's why we just wrote it down. So what I recommend you do later on at home is keep diving into this, okay? Like you have Owen as an example, but name like 3 people, okay? 1 very close to you, 1 celebrity, and 1 mid, or something like that, or a businessman, whatever it is. And just dig into like, okay, what really makes me respect that person so highly, okay? And then write down those qualities, rate yourself on it, and now you're gonna see how large is the gap. So in the previous page, it was like, okay, we were a 4, and Owen was like a 9, okay? So obviously there's a gap. Now, if you figure that out, and you shift this 4 into a 9, and I'm gonna tell you how to do that without changing too much in your life, now you're gonna have higher self-esteem. Is this simple or what? Yeah. Is this some simple shit? Yes. So look guys, as I said yesterday, and I keep reiterating it, this shit's super simple, okay? Like, it's just thinking about it logically. Why do you fucking respect someone else? And then why don't you respect yourself? Because you don't do the shit, you don't embody the qualities that you respect in someone else. It's fucking 1 + 1 is 2, guys. So, that's why I'm saying this shit, people overcomplicate it with all this trauma healing and blah, 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 blah. And yes, this is all like stuff that's relatable. This is all stuff that works and stuff that, is good. I'm just saying, you don't have to go on a 3-year journey because you're broken. Everybody's here, like some people's neurological paths are just less deep in the self-esteem route, in the confidence route, like we talked about yesterday extensively, than others. But you can snap it and fix it like that, and then deepen that layer more and more and more, and get there over time. Is this making sense? Yes. Is this good shit? Yes. Everybody stand up. Give me some energy in the room. So, once again, give me a yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. 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 Okay. Very good. So. Okay, so obviously this all ties into yesterday. This is practical shit to raise your self-esteem. So how do you do it, guys? As I said, there's 2 ways to change any of these things. It is only change your perception, okay, about reality, meaning the rules, the assumptions, the internal, okay, meaning like, oh, I really respect discipline or whatever, but then you realize, I don't really actually. I'm just actually okay with being a lazy sack of shit and not having discipline. Okay, and I assume that most people won't, so you gotta understand, don't use this as a coping mechanism, changing your perception. I'm just saying it's possible, okay? I know guys that are the most confident motherfuckers on earth that have nothing going for themselves. But they just have their perception in their mind built up and set up in a way where it's like, bro, these people that work hard, they're fucking lame, bro. I'm content. I'm a content motherfucker, you know? And, you know, you gotta have a certain personality to be able to do that, but you can put yourself in that personality if you so wish. For me, guys, I'm gonna give you the real honesty here. Like, for me, it's like a balance, okay? It's a balance between understanding and coming from a frame that I know that I can do this shit no matter what, okay? With zero fucking, like, perceptions, with 0 rules, certain things that I have to do to be able to feel this. But on the other hand, I mean, who wants more success in their life as well? Yeah. Right? Yes? Yeah. Say yes. Yes. Say success. Success. So, on the other hand, you also don't want to be a lazy piece of shit and just say to yourself, I'm the shit, I'm the shit, I'm the shit, but not do anything. So there's a balance, okay? And this is a lot of the stuff that I talk about. It comes down to like something being out of balance, okay? So you can take this concept into any area or any problem that you have. Because ultimately, guys, let's look at a few examples. If you have a political party, okay? Or if you have a religion, better example. Hope nobody's gonna get fucking triggered, it's just an example. If you have a religion, all the way on the left side of the spectrum, you have extremists, okay? For example. And that's obviously bad, right? In most people's perception of reality. Nothing is really bad or good, it depends on your perception, but let's call it that, okay? And then on the right side of the spectrum, you have people who are maybe too loose with it, okay? So, Muslim girls who are posting booty pics. It's not fucking allowed! So, haram! Say haram! 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 I love how everybody's holding back at this word because they're probably scared they're gonna get fucking... Alright, anyways. So, and then you kind of have the balance point, okay? Now, I usually hate the word balance. I usually hate the word balance because it's kind of this thing that people use of like work-life balance and all this shit. I really don't believe in that. I feel like if you want to get to a next level in your life, in any field, in any area, it's about immersion. I work, and I'll touch on this if this is valuable for you guys later on, but basically I'm gonna come back to this. I work basically in kind of like 90-day sprints, okay? 60 to 90 days. And I use this to get to a next level in my business, especially. So what I'll do is I'll go to some place, maybe tropical or whatever, where I have no distractions, no haram shit, and I'll just be able to focus on my work, okay? And I'm just gonna focus on one motherfucking thing for 60 to 90 days. So let's say, for example, and I'm actually, after I'm, you know, done pimping over in Austin, I'm gonna get back in my work routine and get back in my immersion. But let's say, for example, that's actually what's happening, right? So let's say, getting back to LA after this and gonna go to some new place and I'm gonna go back into my immersion. That's what I like to call it, immersion, okay? And what I'm gonna do for those 90 days is I'm gonna focus on one motherfucking thing that I'm trying to increase in my life. For me being in that point in time, business, money, okay? So what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna use the full force of my subconscious to assist me in making this goal a reality. And how do I do that? It's by having me focus continuously only on money. I talk about money, I look at money, I think about money, I listen to books about money, I listen to just even little affirmations or little videos of wealth. That's all I'm doing, okay? And business obviously as well. And the reason I do that is because my conscious mind is continuously focused on that. It'll prime, it'll auto-suggest, right? They talk about this in Think and Grow Rich, that book. You might want to reread the chapter on auto-suggestion. So because I'm only focused on this thing, I'm going to tap a lot more percentage of the capacity of my subconscious that's going to lead to money. Does that make sense? Yes. So what a lot of people do is this work-life balance BS, and BS in my perception, okay? Don't take my word for it, whatever. Figure this shit out for yourself. I'm just giving you my high-performance strategies. So for me, it's like if I focus on one thing at a time, I'm going to get a, let's say for example, 10x result in that period of time, whereas if I'm balanced, I might get a 2x. Does that make sense? Because I'm using a lot more capacity of my subconscious in that direction. Whereas, let's say for example this, right? If I'm do 100% focused like this, but if I split that up into two, it's not going to be 50-50, okay? It's kind of like having a magnifying glass, get sunlight out and focus it, right? It's going to be 10% instead. Does that make sense? So that's what I use to rapidly achieve my goals. One goal, 60 to 90 days, immersion, and out of balance. Not going to be socializing. I'm not going to be fucking around watching Netflix or some bullshit. I don't either way, but I'm just going to be doing that. Now, then when I finish that, I'm obviously a 10x. I don't say do this all the time, okay? I don't say this is how you live your life. Because ultimately, this is a goal-achieving strategy. It's not per se fun, okay? But for me, my value system says growth over fun, okay? I just want to get to the goal at that point in time. So I'm gonna achieve that goal, and then from there on, I'll move back into a more balanced perspective, okay? So let's say that 100% is going here, or realistically, because obviously you're doing, you're going to the sauna to recover, whatever. Let's say 80% of my time, focus, and energy goes into the one goal there. Then after this, I'm gonna bring it back into 60 or, further down or whatever. Let's say that I wanna grow another area, another aspect of my life, let's say socially, right? I'll do this. Owen asked me, when I got to LA, right? I came here 3 months ago. I lived here when I was 18. I moved here for the first time when I was 18. But I came here 3 months ago. And obviously I hadn't been here for a couple of years, right? And when I came here for the first time, I didn't know a fucking soul. And I came here, and the first 2 weeks that I was here, I decided, and I knew for myself, okay, I'm just touching down in the city. Let me kind of do a little social immersion for 2 weeks. And I was going out a lot, not even that much. I was still working, right? But let's say 3 times a week or something. And within 2 weeks, I, knew the biggest promoters in LA, was going out with them, was at the top house parties, everything, right? I had all the social results already in check. Obviously met some beautiful people, met some very nice people, keeping it PC. So basically, that's just how I did it. And Owen said to me, dude, you've been here for fucking 2-3 weeks. You did the shit pretty quickly. You move fast. I was like, yeah, bro, when I get to somewhere, I use this principle to get my results there, and then the rest of the 3 months that I've been in LA, I'm nearly at my 3-month mark. The rest of the 3 months that I'm there, I can kind of veer off of those results if I wish to do so, right? If I do got to take out a business associate or whatever, then I have these social results that I can rely on, and I don't have to make anything happen. Does that make sense? Yes. So you can use that to do your goal achievement. Now, obviously, business immersions are 60 to 90 days. I'm not going to be fucking going out 3 months straight, right? That's you can do that a little bit shorter. That's why I mentioned 2 weeks. So, is that good shit, guys? Does that make sense? Yes. Any questions on that? All clear? Great. So, going back into this principle of balance. So, once again, the balance point, guys, as I just mentioned, so basically the work-life balance, I don't agree with that shit, okay? As I said, because you can't use the full capacity of your subconscious, okay? As I just mentioned. However, with general concepts of, for example, traits, or for example, religion, as we see here, or business, or any of these types of things, or qualities, right? Any of these types of things, you can kind of have a right side of the spectrum where it's just too little, or left side of the spectrum where it's too much. Like, let's get an example down. Let's say you have confidence, okay? And let's say you have insecurity. And then let's say that you have arrogance. Does that make sense? So it's like arrogant, now you're too much. People are just like thinking you're a piece of shit, and like it doesn't even come across very confident, because to be honest, arrogance is just compensation for a lack of confidence. Who knows that? Exactly. Like people are arrogant, they're just like, I know a few of these dudes, like it's just annoying, bro. Nobody really wants to hang out with them. So don't do that. Like if you're truly comfortable with yourself, you're not trying as hard, okay? So either way, that's a level of confidence, that's imbalance, that's great. If you're going to the left side though, which may even be worse than arrogance, is like insecure. Okay, and by the way, arrogant, you can be a little cocky and funny and cocky and shit. I'm that too, it's fine. But don't go all the way over there where you're like going into arrogance, like toxicity. So either way, insecurity, that's just like you don't feel worthy, you feel less than other people, blah, 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 right? So that's obviously bad too. So bringing it into perspective, it's like that balance that really makes the magic happen. Does that make sense? Yes. So going back to this self-esteem that I promised to get back on, it's kind of like you want to have these qualities in a balanced perspective. And the first reason I actually came to this principle is that, look, changing your perception and changing your reality. You guys remember what we're talking about? Yes? Yes. Changing your perception or changing your reality is the only ways that you can feel better or change something, right? So if you're trying to change these things, obviously you're going to have to look at either changing your perception or changing your reality, or both. And what I mentioned, guys, that like for me, it's a balance, okay? Yes, I changed my fucking reality. Obviously, as Ibrahim mentioned, right? Make money, get success, blah, blah, blah. Socialize, all this shit, right? Go to the gym every day. Obviously, I do all of these things. But I do these things not from a frame of mind of like, oh, I'm the piece of shit if I don't, okay? Now, do I feel a little bit worse about myself though if I don't do that? Meanwhile, it's in my value system to do that? Yes, I fucking do. Could I really get my mind to a place of perception where I would feel like the shit and feel awesome and great if I was doing jack shit? Yes, I could, right? But I purposely set my mind up in a way that's workable for me. Now, if you want something different, you can do it for yourself. I'm not here to teach you how to set your mind up like me. I'm just here to explain how I set it up and the principles that I use to even set it up, because most people just run with their default programming from their childhood, as we talked about yesterday. You have beliefs, you have experiences that create beliefs, etc. And this all is this programming that you've gotten from your childhood, from certain experiences, and now you're just walking around with these belief systems that aren't serving you. So bringing it into consciousness, shifting it, pushing it back down into subconscious by repetition, okay? By doing the reminders that we've talked about, by doing the 21-day plan, etc. And now you're a new fucking person. Like, this shit is literally about redesigning your mind, okay? Is that some awesome shit or what?
Yeah. Yes.
Is this genuinely like really valuable to you guys? Give me a little bit of a taste here. Okay. So, as I'm saying, guys, figure out for yourself what is workable for you. And you can twist and tweak. The only trap that you want to really avoid is the coping mechanism of saying, you know, oh, I'm going to do this, or because, like, let's say, for example, oh, to me, discipline is not that important. To me, success is not that important. But really it is, right? But it's just a coping mechanism because you're, you know, just wanting to be lazy, right? Which is just a default pattern that you've been running. So you got to really get clear on these things. Now, how do you get clear on these things? It's an important piece. Because you can't change these things if you're thinking from a paradigm that's not optimized to get the right actual thought. Okay? We're going to go into a little bit of a very important fucking piece. So, I'm going to talk to you about how to actually think about these things. Because this is something that nobody ever talks about. Because I can ask you all these questions. I can ask you to write this shit down. But if you're thinking from a frame, who here knows what a frame is? If you're thinking, I'm going to explain it as well, but like if you're thinking from a frame that is unfulfilled, for example, now the thoughts that you're going to have about what you should and shouldn't do, if you should change your perception, if you should change your reality, if you should go into business, out of business, whatever, now these things are going to be different, okay, and it's not going to be true for you. It's not going to be the most workable thing. Let me explain exactly what I mean. Let me give you an example. Who here had a breakup in, like, let's say the past year? Like a breakup, relationship breakup. Okay, who here still feels like shit about it? All right, my man. So, Luke, ultimately, the reason, okay, let me ask you if you're willing to share. You don't have to, right? But it might be good to step out your comfort zone. So I'm really giving you no other choice at this point. But what is the reason that you're still kind of like buttered about it and trying to get back maybe? And don't say she was just fucking hot.
No. I had an affair with the girl who was married to somebody else.
Speak up, bro. I can't hear you.
I had an affair with somebody who was married to somebody else. In my mind, it's just like, I think the RS flip happened and
This guy is like some Trojan horse motherfucker. Look how neat he looks. This guy will take your wife, bro. He's in there. He doesn't give a fuck. All butted up and shit.
so I just don't feel enough sometimes. Like
You don't think enough? What?
I don't feel enough. Like, in my mind, I was pretty happy before that. And while the romantic thing was going on, it was pretty good. But after things changed, it was like, I just felt like I was not enough.
Well, obviously because she had two fucking guys. So. No, but like on a serious note. So what is right now the reason that you haven't truly let go of it? That you're still kind of attached to it? Do you feel like right now you have a better option than her in your life? On an emotional level, not just logically, yeah? On an emotional level, like. That's a no, by the way. So, do you feel like in the future, in the next year or whatever, like short-term future, you're gonna get someone who's way, like be honest, okay? Because otherwise I'm gonna help you shift it. But do you really feel, genuinely, yes or no, that you could get someone that's way better and it's gonna be a better match for you as well? Not just harder, like better match, better connection, smart, intelligent, whatever it may be for you. Yeah, the qualities like we just talked about. Than her in the next like short-term, like a year or so, whatever. Yeah. You do? How certain are you of that, 1 to 10?
7.
Okay, so there's your problem. So look, I gave this example because everybody's been through this probably, right? And what you gotta understand, guys, is that your brain, okay, let's try to make this into a little bit of a brain. Whatever. So your brain has biological impulses, okay? Wants to make you survive, wants to make you reproduce. I've talked about this 1 million fucking times. Say it with me. Survive. Survive. Reproduce. Reproduce. Survive. Survive. Fuck. Fuck. Survive. Survive. Kids. Kids. Survive. Survive. Affairs. Affairs. Point at him and say affairs. 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 Point at him and say pimp. Pimp. Guys, I'm telling you, like, I don't just do this shit in public speaking. Like, this is the type of shit I do when I'm out too. I did it yesterday. It was hella funny. Anyways, so look, as I'm saying, fucking breaking this shit. As I'm saying, your brain has biological impulses, right? So number 1 is survive, and number 2 is fuck, to make you remember it.
Didn't you say a third one yesterday, like Coke or something?
Say again, Coke?
Yeah, I didn't.
That's not a biological impulse, bro.
I heard you say a third one.
Nobody heard that joke?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay. Why is nobody fucking laughing, guys? It was pretty funny. Anyways. Yeah, thank you very much. So anyways, no, it's like those are the two primary ones, yeah. Like, and what I did say is like your brain optimizes to save time and energy, but that feeds into these two primary ones. So obviously below these things, there are things that, you know, build that up, right? So, okay, so if you want to survive, what makes that happen? It's doing, like what I probably said is like doing things that are familiar, right? Because that's the known route. And you've survived up until this point. So you'd rather go with a familiar path than something that you don't know, even though it might be better, but you might die. So your brain moves towards familiarity, okay? But once again, that's just something that's below this survival mechanism thing. So coming back to you, it's like if your ex, right, if you're still kind of thinking about her a lot, and like ultimately what it really comes down to, like 80% of the time, and I'm not going to say that it is with you because it can be different, okay? Once again, it's like a lot of the time, it just comes down to the fact that your brain is trying to make you survive and reproduce. And by the way, also moving towards dopamine and good emotions is amongst these things, okay? So that's why it can be wildly different what this means for you and for you and for you. It can be wildly different because it's like what you associate pain and pleasure to is different for everybody because we've all had different experiences. As I said yesterday, let's say that you're 5 years old and you have to do a little presentation for school or whatever, and you get up there and everybody claps for you, okay, but everybody's laughing at a joke or something. Say that I would interpret that as like, oh great, I'm a good speaker, let's do this more often, and someone else here interprets it as like, oh, they're laughing at me, I'm shy, I'm not going to want to do this again, right? So it's like pleasure and pain associations that build belief systems. Anyways, we've talked about that. So getting back to this, it's these primary objectives that create a lot of thoughts, okay? This is really like some important shit to know, to understand yourself. So if you're having thoughts, your thoughts are not actually really you, but also your beliefs are not really you. Also, like, the only thing that's really you, if you really break it down, is your soul, right? Like that consciousness that can observe the thoughts, can observe the beliefs, can observe the value structures, whatever, the behavior, etc. And then if you make a choice from that consciousness to shift it, now you're really moving towards who you really are. Does that make sense? Yes. So that's really important to do, and that's why I said, if up until now you've just gotten no fucking results, it's just because you're running with an outdated blueprint. But you can't be judging yourself. You can't. Because it's not your fucking fault. Like literally everything you've done up until this point, up until the point of consciousness about this, you can't do anything about, because you weren't even conscious of what was running you, okay? So you can't judge yourself. At the same time, you can't compare yourself to other people. Like who here does that? Everybody, right? And it's a natural human instinct to compare yourself to other people. Now, I'm gonna veer off of this and get back to it, but about comparing, guys, everybody compares. Because if you don't have like dark, you can't have white, right? It's kind of like you have to compare to be able to see what something is. Right? If you can't have, like, if you say 10 is a lot, well, you got to compare it to something that's less. You're always comparing. So I'm not going to tell you, like, a lot of people, like, who's heard it before? Stop comparing yourself. Who's heard that before? Everybody regurgitates that shit, doesn't it? Don't they? So it's like, okay, great, but you have to compare. It's a natural thing. If you don't compare, you cannot attribute any meaning or value. What I say is, instead of comparing, coming back to the locus of focus once again, instead of comparing to like other people, you got to compare to yourself. Now, a lot of people say this, right? But then it's like oh, just compare yourself to yourself. How do you do that? What's the practicality behind it so you can actually make that happen? What I want you to have in your mind is compare yourself to the version that you're writing down when we just did that exercise, right? Your kind of ideal version. The version of you that you know you would be and could be if you did everything right, okay? If you did everything like following your intentions, like your conscious intentions, your qualities that you've listed out, you know, the things that you want to do, having your discipline on a high level, like that person, okay? That we talked about yesterday, that we talked about today, is that identity that's the main thing, guys. Compare yourself on a continuous basis to that. And that should give you, when you see that person in your mind, you see them with the life that they would have, with how people view them, how people respect them, and know that you can be them at any moment in time. That's who you compare yourself to. And that's gonna get you out of your fucking bed in the morning, because you know who you could be. In any moment in time, you can shift. It's like standing over here, having taken a wrong action, saying to myself, shit, fuck, I fucked up there. Who am I really? Standing over there, now I'm there, okay? And it's about this, guys. Ultimately, this is what it comes down to. It's about this straight line. High performance simply means the line from A to B is like B, is like you want to keep it as straight of a line as possible, okay? Everyone will go off of this line. It's just about going off of it, bringing it back. Going off it, bringing it back. Being straight for a bit, going off, bringing it back. This is reasonably high performance. But what most people do, like what average people do, is this. Let's go. Whoa, whoa. All over the fucking place, okay? Because they're not staying on the straight line. It's like they take one wrong action, and now it's 2 months later, 3 months later, 3 fucking years later, and now they're like, oh shit, I gotta bring myself back to the straight line. Who knows what I'm fucking talking about here? So that's what it's about, staying on the straight line. Everybody gets off the straight line. It's about bringing yourself back to it. That's what you want to do. Now, getting back to this point, and I hope you guys don't mind me freestyling, but by the way, today or yesterday, this is no prepared shit. Like, I just come in with like one topic and we just riff on it. But is this like valuable shit? Give me a bit of heads up. Yes. Okay, great. So, building on top of that, it's what I'm saying here, and getting back to the X thing as well, is these thoughts that you're having, once again, they're not your thoughts, yeah? It's just because of the programming that you've had and the biological impulses that you're experiencing at that point in time. So, why I gave that example of my friend over here with his ex is if he believed 10 out of 10, but not just like I believe it 10 out of 10, but just if he really felt it in his body, if he right now already had a person that was better than his ex in connection, in love, in intelligence, in looks, whatever is important for him, okay, not for me, not for you guys, for him, his own blueprint, then all these thoughts would go away magically, disappear magically, okay? And the reason, 80% of the fucking time, okay? So the reason for that, these markers are all done. The reason for that is that the biological drive, kind of the engine that was steering towards that direction, has been shut off, right? Because there's no reason, because now there's a new option to survive and to get, and to reproduce, okay? Because there's a new option that he's going to stay with because it's a better match, and now all of these things disappear. All of these thoughts disappear. So who understands that the thoughts that you're having are not yours, and they're coming from either biological impulses or past programming, and you got to bring your consciousness, your highest self to it. Is that making sense? Yeah? So basically, obviously it's like pretty bad fucking advice to just say, oh, just get a better chick, right? Because that's, hard when you're still having those thoughts and when you're still in that attachment frame of mind. It's only when you let go that you're going to be able to move towards that usually. And also when you let go of that, funnily enough, like I kid you not, up until the hour or the day, this has happened to me so many times, you let go of kind of an attachment to something, that you want something from a person, and the fucking day that you do that, they hit you up. Who here has experienced that? Like, it's an energetic thing. Like, you can test it out, guys, but it's like, it's really true. Like, up until the fucking day, it always happens, always. So, release that attachment, and how you can do that is honestly by digging in and thinking for yourself, like, okay, what is my brain trying to help me with here? Okay, it's trying to have me survive and reproduce, etc. And the reason it's veering towards that old option, your ex or whatever, is simply because you don't have a high enough certainty, you don't feel it in your body that you can have someone new. Okay, that's better. If you increase that certainty, now you're going to be able to let go of that. the lesson that I'm giving you here right now is not just about how to get over your ex, even though that's a great lesson, but it's about how to fulfill and shift the frame that you are thinking from when we're doing all of this work, so you can have true thoughts. So let's say integrity thoughts, okay? Like highest self thoughts, not from your lower self biological impulses. So what you want to do is, let's say that the thing that you're trying to make a decision about is your ex. You need to get to a place mentally where you believe and you feel it in your body. You can do that by closing your eyes, visualizing, just like you did yesterday, really seeing as if you were there, feeling as if you were there, hearing as if you were there, and with a high enough certainty that you had this result already. You already had a new best partner, whatever, okay? Or you already had all of these options, all of this love. You were feeling it inside of you right now. That emotion that you want from the thing that you're trying to get, fill yourself up with that right now already. And then you're gonna get a lot more true thoughts, true to yourself. Is this making sense?
Yes.
So it is very, very important, because once again, if the frame that you're thinking from is like, let's say it's half full, right? Now you're really gonna be having these thoughts that tell you to do all of this stuff, but it's not really true. I'll give you another example. Some people think they want to build a business, make money, get like the best example would be get really famous, right? They want to become an actor. And in reality, the reason that they want to become an actor is because they just don't feel good enough about themselves, so therefore they want all of this validation, right? Because it's missing in here. This is in a half full cup, right? So they want all of this validation, and they think that acting will give them that, okay? But maybe acting, maybe just a thought, guys, getting validation from external people is not really going to fulfill you internally. Just a thought, right? But obviously, your brain, if you don't have the consciousness level at that time, is not going to get to that conclusion, right? So now this guy is going to spend years trying to become an actor, but he's doing it from a frenetic, energetic place. Okay, he's doing it from a place of neediness, where he's not doing it for the right reasons. I'll give an example. My little brother, he's like 15 years old. I've been coaching this guy since he was like 10. And when he was 10, I introduced him to music and DJing, whatever. And then he told me, yeah, I want to become a DJ. And I had a sit down with him multiple times, like about three times, to have him in different emotional states when I talk to him, right? Because it can change your thoughts because of an emotional state or an event that just happened or whatever. And so I really got clear on like, what is the reason, bro, you really want to become a DJ? Because if it is, and I didn't tell him this, but I was thinking it, if it is because of the external validation and results that you're going to get from it, obviously that's not the right reasons to do it. So your why is not going to be with integrity and strong enough. It's not coming from your higher self. Now, if you're just doing it from that place, do you think the universe and whatever powers there are, and God, however you want to call it, is really going to reward you with getting those results if you're doing it for the wrong reasons? Probably not, right? So it's very important, and also your drive and your motivation is not going to be continuous, okay? It's going to be up and down, because you're getting motivated for the wrong reasons. Hey, do we have more paper for this?
Right now, we'll get some.
We'll get some? Perfect. Because my cup is about to be half full here. Anyways, so basically, guys, it's like you're having motivations for the wrong reasons, okay? And this is something that we talked about yesterday, but it's something to dive into because it's really important. Humans are ultimately motivated by pain and by pleasure. Okay? And if you're trying to achieve a goal, you got to dig in. Why do you want this goal? Why are you trying to achieve that goal? Because if you're someone, and honestly, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of entrepreneurs have this problem, okay? It's kind of an entrepreneur syndrome, so to say. They're trying to get to this goal that they've put out in their mind. Like for me, I'll tell you a personal story about it. When I was like 18, I started business, right? I dropped out of high school when I was 18, and I started my marketing agency, first business. And then basically, within like maybe 4 months or so, I was making like 3 to 4K a month in profit. So I grew up in Amsterdam and I moved to Bali, Indonesia. I was there for 6 months, scaled it up to 30K a month. Then it went kind of a little bit up and down. And then I had this bullseye target. And then I moved to LA for a bit. And then that's actually when I met Owen. And then I had this bullseye target always for kind of all that period of time. I always had this bullseye target of like, I really want to make 100 grand a month, okay, profit. That was kind of like my like nirvana, my like ideal situation. And I very much came from the frame for a long time of like, it's not good right now if I don't have that yet, okay? And it was just a very frenetic energy that I was going towards my days, you know, with. Like I was just coming from a painful place. I was trying to move away from pain. And I very much had on this, like, I attached to this goal a lot of things that I expected from it, right? I also expected like, oh, if I achieve this, then, you know, I'm gonna also feel better about myself, blah, 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 blah. And obviously achieving a goal makes you feel a little bit better about yourself, right? You're embodying a certain quality that allows you to do that, but you can't base your full self-esteem on the external goal, as we've talked about. So anyways, I did achieve that, and I had a focus of like, I wanna make 100 grand a month. I ended up making like, doing these 100 grand months before I was 21, as Ibrahim mentioned. And actually, after I did that, right, I was making that for like, you know, maybe 3, 4, 5 months. And then I just, like, I remember after I started doing that, I just crumbled at some point. Like, I fucking crushed down. I lost so much money because of this principle. So you guys better pay some fucking attention, because it's cost me millions of dollars. Because if you think about the expanding effect of these things, like a lot of people, ask yourself this question. A lot of people think whenever, you know, my team or whatever is on a qualification call, or even if I'm on one, people will often say like, oh, what's the price of this? Or they'll debate in their mind, what's the cost of the investment, you know? But rarely do people consider the cost of inaction. The biggest cost you're experiencing in your personal life and your business is the cost of the shit that you're leaving on the fucking table. Okay? If you ask yourself right now, what percentage have you been fucking operating on of your potential? 10, 20, 30 in the past year, 2 years? If you would have been at 100 fucking percent, how much more money would you have made? How much more social results would you have right now? We talked about this shit yesterday. Think about the 2 paths that we did in the hypnosis. Okay? How different would it be? How much fucking money have you left on the table by not operating at that level? That should give you the fucking leverage. That's the real cost. It's not 5K that you're putting into a goddamn program. Okay? I was talking to a dude 2 days ago, and this guy, I was just popping in to watch Owen real quick, and then I popped out again. And this guy, and by the way, not shit on him at all. I don't do shit talking. I told him this to his face already. But I told him, like, he was basically considering, I think, was it you, about the Bitcoin? Yeah. Exactly. So I told you, right? Can I say? Yeah. Okay. So either way, it's like, he was thinking, debating about, you know, investing in himself. And by the way, I don't have all the information. So I'm just going off of the information that I had. But it's an example of a pattern that I see in a lot of people. So he was considering investing in himself, in his personal growth, with Owen doing a bootcamp. On the other hand, he was like considering taking that money and putting it into Bitcoin. Yeah, which is, by the way, a good investment. We're in a bear market right now. It's only like, I don't know what it is right now, like 19, 20K or some shit.
I don't think it's a bear market.
What do you mean?
I think it's still going to go up. No.
Brother, we're in a bear market. We're not in a bull market. Anyways, that should tell you enough about investing in Bitcoin. But either way, like what I'm saying is, if you would invest it right now, when we're gonna go into a bull market again, you might double your money, you might even triple it. Bitcoin is not gonna go 10x all of a sudden in the next 2 to 3 years yet. You know, probably. Let's, you know, be realistic here. So it's like, okay, you might make an extra 6, 9K, okay, over the next like 2 to 3 years. So my point is, and ultimately guys, for anyone here, I'm just taking someone as an example, for anyone here, it just comes down to this. Do you really actually believe that investment A is going to give you a bigger return, considering time and return, right? So it's 10x, but in 10 years, that might be less than 2x in 1 year, exactly. Is that a better investment, a better return on your investment, or investment B, where it's this much and this much time, okay? Now, talking about this cost of inaction, I know, and that's why I'm saying, just the information that I had, right? Everybody got to think for themselves. He has more information than me. I'm just taking an example. The cost of inaction could be for him potentially, if he would get his confidence levels up, right? If he would be in a place where he could communicate well to business owners. That's, guys, when I started my marketing agency, I went off sheer confidence. I had zero to show for. I was a high school dropout. I would go in the train, to give you an idea, to paint a picture, because I was already out of the house at like 16, yeah? And I was like back and forth a little bit in and out of the house, like my parental house. And basically what I would do is I would go to meetings, like I would start with realtors, gyms, whatever, getting them as clients. I would go with the train to these clients, try to dress up a little bit with like an H&M white button-up, you know, and like a little laptop bag. And I would bike, or I would go with the train if I had to go far. And I would basically not have a train ticket because I had no fucking money, right? So what I would do is in the Netherlands, where you have trains, it's basically you have like these cabins, and then you have a top side and a bottom side. Yeah. So I would go sit in the connector of these cabins, and then you could always see the top and the bottom. And then if the ticket checker would come with the bottom, I would see him coming up, and I would just walk back to the other side of the train through the top. Like, that's legit what happened before my meetings, before my sales meeting. And I would have like this little notebook that I would bring, and it would just be talking to like 40-year-old dudes with like gyms that do like millions a year or whatever, because obviously you want the big ones. And I would just be telling them about marketing. I had never run an ad in my life, but I believed in my ability to figure things out. And that's a very powerful thing to do. Now, you could say, oh, that's unethical, you're trying to pitch someone on marketing, whatever, but I would give them guarantees or some shit, right? If I really couldn't get someone the result, then I'm gonna give them their fucking money back. That's just basic ethics. But you gotta also start somewhere, right? Like, it's not like 4 years of university is gonna give you the ability to get business results like that. It's just not, okay? And still to this motherfucking day, my high school friends tell me, bro, still a shame that you didn't get your diploma. I'm like, you dumbass, bro. Holy shit. Like, I'll tell you a personal thing. I've had a very turbulent childhood. I've had like, 6 stepfathers. My original father, my biological dad, was like, he split up with my mom when I was 1 year, like below 1 year old or some shit like that. And then it's been a long, like a turbulent childhood. And then basically, this guy, it's a long story, but to give you the nutshell of what I'm trying to say here, I didn't see him for a long time, okay? And like, we're talking about 8, 10 years or whatever. There's reasons, whatever. But I saw him again, maybe, what would it be, 6 months ago, okay, in the Netherlands. And we had lunch, and, look, obviously, I think of myself highly, right? I've achieved a lot of things, and it's like I think of myself highly because of, the foundation that I don't need anything and the qualities, as we've all talked about. But for other people, what they think of you is also a lot of like, what have you achieved, because it shows these qualities and stuff. Now, in the Netherlands, I'm really well known because I have a documentary about my business and life or whatever on like the Dutch version of Netflix, like, whatever. So these types of things. So like, he knows that. A lot of people know me. A lot of people know how much money I've made. It's very public, right? I have a lot of friends. I'm healthy. I don't drink alcohol, don't do drugs. So there's a lot of things that I do right, yeah? I would say, in my opinion. And that's fine to say about yourself because I fucking try to live to my values. But I asked him at some point, right? And it's just funny how people's worldviews set things up way differently. So I asked him at some point, hey, Dad, like, what do you actually think of me, right? Are you proud of me, or like, what do you think of me? Like, every kid wants to know, right? The first thing he said is like, and I don't give a fuck about making this public or whatever, like, it's just what happened, right? So the first thing he said, and it'll give you a lesson, the first thing he said was, and by the way, it was a nice conversation and everything, and like, I'm not trying to talk shit, but the first thing he said was, look, boy, I know that you're like a very intelligent person, because like, you were always a smart guy, like when you were very young. But, so, yeah, it just always disappointed me that you didn't get your diploma, that you didn't finish your high school. And I was like, bro, I almost started laughing. I was like, you cannot be fucking serious, bro. My fucking God. And so this is what I'm trying to say, guys. It's like, you gotta live to your own intentions. Like, people say that stuff about me, people say bad shit about me, people say good shit about me. I don't care whether it's good or bad. I do care to an extent. I take feedback, and I love it. I love appreciation. Like, some of you guys send me messages on Instagram. By the way, which brings me to the point, if you wanna send me a message, or if you wanna follow me or whatever, you can add me on Instagram. It's the best way to do it, at Boyd Hook. If you can read that, it's boy with a D behind it. I say that about 1,000 times a year when I'm socializing. And then H-O-E-K, okay? Boyd Hook. Anyways, I'd love for you to send me a message what your takeaways are from the seminar. Like, legit do this work for that. Like, I'm here for free. I'm pitching you no program or whatever. Like, literally do it out of my pleasure. So anyways, that happened, right? And it's like, people say this stuff all the time. Like, also, like, high school people, like, I was talking about this with another very successful young friend of mine, and he saw that I was on Snapchat, right? I was like posting this Snapchat story. And you know, Owen, if someone knows this, Owen sometimes talks about levels of motivation, where you kind of have your lower levels of motivation, which is like showing you're better than others, or like showing your old teacher that you could do it, or whatever, like that type of shit, and then having your impact purpose. So it's different levels, right? So every level is okay. There's a place for everything. So I'm never on Snapchat, and whenever I see someone on Snapchat, I'm like, you're a fucking kid. Like, who uses Snapchat, right? Who uses Snapchat over here, to be honest? Fair enough. So anyways, it's probably for certain purposes, right? So anyways, basically, this Snapchat thing, I have all my like old high school friends and stuff on there, right? Just on Snapchat. I don't really follow a lot of people on Instagram. I don't really stay in touch that much, but everybody's still on Snapchat because it's just some shit that you made like fucking 5 years ago and it's still there. So anyways, sometimes I post a story, you know, of like me kicking in the Hollywood Hills, or like, you know, being on a fucking, you know, yacht with like 20 girls or whatever, right? Just like shit that shows success or whatever. And people like say these things, or I hear these things that people say to each other about it, and it's the funniest shit, guys. Like, how far up your own ass do you need to be to say to someone who achieved that type of shit, oh man, shame that you didn't get a diploma. Bro, what did you do with your diploma, motherfucker? What did you do with that shit? Nothing, okay? Jack shit. Guys, I'm just letting out a few suppressed emotion, I'm sorry. So, anyways, look, it's just, you guys, you just gotta be strong in your own frame, in your own worldview, okay? And then people will adjust to it, but some people you're just not meant to connect with. And that's what I kind of started this chat off, you know, in the beginning today, where it's like, you're not supposed to connect with everybody. Once again, there is also a balance in that principle, because on the one hand, I see people and guys that are like socializing, and then they're literally just, if anyone rejects them or does anything negative, they're just like, fuck that person. They're just not supposed to connect with me. Meanwhile, there's 1,000 fucking things that you could fix in your communication and confidence levels, you know? So maybe that's also a part of it, bro. So you're using it again as a coping mechanism. Does that make sense? Yes. So you don't, like, say with me, coping mechanism. Coping mechanism. Say with me, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Let's fuck. I watched this movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, and there's like this guy, who's seen The Wolf of Wall Street? Everybody. So it's like Matthew McConaughey, he's such a character, right? He's like, at one point it's like the things open, and he's like, 1, 2, 3, let's fuck! Right? It's just like, it's become a phrase. But anyways, so if you haven't seen the movie, it sounds weird as fuck, but it's still funny. So anyways, it's kind of like you're not supposed to connect with everybody, but at the same time, if you're communicating and in a high value manner, if you view yourself high value, which is gonna sub-communicate that stuff, if you have the right beliefs, you're gonna connect with like fucking 2, 3, 4, 5 times more people, you know, than if you weren't. So it's two sides of the coin. You can't just say like, oh yeah, every single person, like, you know, the 1,000 people that I've talked to in the past month, out of which, you know, 980 were not with it, you know, or just brushed me off, they all are pieces of shit and I'm not supposed to connect. You can't say that, right? You can make it a belief system of like, you know, just focusing on the positives as we talked about yesterday, but I'm just saying, you gotta be in a balanced perspective where you make it work for you. Say, make it work for you.
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 Say, workable.
Workable.
So workable, I keep reiterating that shit. That's the most important thing. Comes down, once again, guys, to bringing stuff out of your subconscious into consciousness and thinking, is it workable or not? If it's workable, keep it. If it's unworkable, if I said 1,000 fucking times, change it, condition it back, and you're a new person. How simple is this? Say simple.
Simple.
Awesome. So, kind of getting back to this principle of pain and pleasure, right? Where like we got off this whole tangent of 30 minutes from this. It's like people are motivated by pain and pleasure. And a lot of entrepreneurs, as I just said before, are like motivated only by pain. And pain is like you're moving away from something, right? So you're trying to achieve these things. But the problem is when you then achieve these things, you're not pulled to an even next level because you only had negative motivation, okay? So let's say with the 100 grand a month thing that I had, you know, I was just being pushed away from the old situation I had, right? From some issues that I had with myself, not feeling good about myself, blah, 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 right? And I thought that this was gonna fix it. Now, then I achieve that thing, I see that it doesn't actually fix it, and now I'm not pulled further. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you gotta dig into the drives and motivations that you have, right? And if you're being motivated by pain is great, because it's a bigger motivator than pleasure. However, if someone like Richard Branson is still working as hard today as he was 40 years ago, or even harder, that means for a fucking fact that this guy is motivated by pleasure, right? He's being pulled towards that, okay? Because if he was only being motivated by pain, I mean, dude, he would have stopped years ago. That guy's not in pain. That guy's wakeboarding, making billions of dollars. You know, that guy's having some fun, I can tell you. So, I mean, I think so. So, yeah, he's motivated by pleasure. So what I want you to really dig into is like any goal that you have, right? Anything that you're trying to do in your life. We spoke about this yesterday as well, is like, what's the motivation that you're trying to, you know, get away from something? What's pushing you towards there? And what's also pulling you? And then if you've achieved that goal, what can pull you even further, right? So let's say something that, if your standards are just that you want to, you know, have your own place, or that you want to be able to travel, you know, that'll pull you to 6 figures. But at that point, you're going to kind of dim out on the motivation because you don't have bigger goals. A lot of people say they have motivation or discipline problems. And I'm like saying, bro, listen, the rule of the brain is that you're pushed away from pain and you're pulled towards pleasure, right? So if we work with that rule, we can break down why you're not motivated, right? And some people say motivation is, you know, overrated, blah, blah, blah. I think human drive, a drive to want to achieve your goal is fucking important, right? Yes, a very big aspect is also going to be discipline in times where your brain just wants to be lazy because it has those survival instincts. Yes, you got to push through those times. But inherently, if you got to always discipline yourself to do something, you're doing the wrong fucking thing. Or you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Does that make sense? Yes. Kobe Bryant even said this. And Kobe is like a disciplined motherfucker, right? He really prizes himself as being disciplined. But he even said in this interview, like, listen, if he trains like a madman, right? And he said, if I had to discipline myself all the time to do this shit, like I just wouldn't be able to be as great as I am, right? Cocky motherfucker. So it's like, I'm paraphrasing by the way. But either way, it's like, he loves doing that shit. He loves it, okay? I used to go kickboxing when I was like 14 till 16, whatever. I actually wanted to be a pro kickboxer. That was like my first kind of purpose. But, you know, I ended up getting a whiplash, like concussion, shit like that. I couldn't do it anymore, unfortunately. But I was in the gym always. Like, I was in the gym 3, 4, 5 hours a day, and that's even too much. And, you know, my trainer saw me as like the greatest protector because I was always working hard. Right? But I needed zero discipline for it. I loved it, okay? And you gotta get to a place where you have that with what you're trying to do in your purpose, in your work, okay? That's why I'm saying, guys, like, I have no fucking clue what time is it or like how long I've been up here. Quite a fucking while, I see. But it's like you gotta get to a place where you can be in flow state and where you love what you're doing. Now, it's also important, getting back to the balance principle, that like you don't identify with the feelings too much, okay? Because you also have people who take that concept and then think like, oh yeah, I gotta like it, right? I'm not feeling it. And you're checking in too much with what you're feeling. Now, feelings go up and down always. They always change. If you're checking in too much with that, now you're going to defeat your own action taking because you're just checking in with your feelings too much. And sometimes your brain just wants to be lazy just because it wants to, right? Because it's trying to save time and energy. Once again, primal drives. Is that making sense? Yes. So you always got to check in with yourself. Now, honestly, guys, one of the best ways to do that is honestly to like get a coach or like work with someone or even be in a mastermind that's kind of, you know, not too big to where like you could actually have, you know, some communication. Because then people can actually see your blueprint and challenge your thoughts. That's a lot of the work that I do with people. It's like, especially high-level entrepreneurs, if you're getting into this zone where like certain decisions need to be made, right? And then I'm there as someone who's not in their biological drives, not in their emotional blueprint, looking at the decisions that they're trying to make business-wise, personal-wise, etc. I'm able to see that their cup is half full and it's not true what they're doing, okay? Because obviously, you know, I'm experienced in it, but especially also because I'm an outside person. And that's like, even if it's a good friend, if you really don't have the money to invest in a coach or whatever, like get someone that you check in with, get a group of guys together. Check in with each other. Have a group of dudes or ladies, you know, that really hold you accountable and really are able to look at your shit objectively, okay? Even if, like, for example, you're in a relationship, I do this myself with all the knowledge I have, and I'm the first one to say that. Like, I don't give a shit. If I'm in a relationship, like this happened maybe 2 years ago. I was in a relationship and I was just very in love with this girl. She was very in love with me, but there were certain things because of cultural differences and whatever that were just like, whatever, that I was kind of looking with too much of pink sunglasses, yeah? Who's done that before in a relationship, yeah? Like you're just viewing things that are really not okay, like to be okay just because you have these pink sunglasses, because you're loved up and shit. So anyways, if you then just talk to a buddy of yours, and he's like, bro, this is actually not your standard, bro. This is not something that you really think is cool. Because he knows you very well, for example, now you're able to take a step back and be objective about it. Does that make sense? Yes. So you got to check in with yourself. Does it really make sense? If you have a question, you can let me know, but does it really make sense that you got to understand not just what you're thinking, but what place you are thinking from? You can't be thinking about decisions from a place of a half cup, okay? And so if you want to make these decisions, take it from a powerful state, right? How do you generate that? We've talked about some of it, but hey, did we have those papers?
That's coming. It'll take a while.
Okay. So what you can think, ways to do that, guys, is first of all, what you're focusing on. So with my man, as I said, if he's focusing on the fact that he can't get someone else, I'm going to talk with you a little bit about state. I'm just going to do it on top of here. I'm just going to talk you through it, so don't worry. It's your focus, first of all, right? And the meaning that you attribute to things. So we're talking about how to fill that cup, how to decide and think from a place of being full. Make sense? Yes. Just so we're on track, just checking in. So number one that you can do to be able to do that is the focus that you have and the meaning that you have, okay? That simply means if you just keep focusing on the fact that you think that you can't get someone else, okay, you're going to have that attachment, okay? It's not going to be good. So if you shift that focus to a place and to a belief system, and also to imagining certain things, that you can and will have someone better, because I guarantee anytime anyone has broken up with someone, there is definitely the possibility to get someone who's even more compatible with you. Agree or not agree, right? It's like, it's always the case, because you keep improving. Right? Obviously, if you're going to fucking be a piece of shit, you may not. But that's not what we're here to do. Right? So that's number one. Change the focus and change the meaning. Okay? If you just break up or something and you give it the meaning like, hey, I learned a great fucking deal from this relationship. I've grown a lot. I've gained experiences. I've had great times. I've shared great love and whatever. And now I'm going to be even. I have a great friend for life. If you want to go down that route or not, it's up to you. But I have a great friend for life. And I'm going to get an even better thing because I'm primed for it right now. If that's the meaning, it's going to be a whole lot easier. Okay? Make sense? Yes. So that's meaning and focus. Then the second thing is like your self-talk, okay? And that comes down to like not just talk, but also just the images that you see in your mind, okay? If you keep visualizing your ex, if you keep thinking about that, right? If you see her beautiful and tell yourself that you miss her or whatever, say these things and visualize these things, now you're just gonna keep that keep that alive, okay? So if you start changing that self-talk, and if you start shifting that, the images that you make in your mind, so the audio and the images you make in the mind, you're gonna feel different. Does that make sense? Yes. Simple shit, right? Simple shit. And then the last thing is your physiology, okay? Which we've used a couple of times. So let's show you what it looks like. Stand up. Okay, so let's everybody just check in with how you're feeling right now, okay? And just let's get a little bit of energy, okay? So just repeat after me. Yes! 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 Make a move with it. Yes! 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 Hey! 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 Okay, sit down. How do you feel right now? Different. 10 fucking seconds. Okay? This is not me who invented it. A million people have said it before, but it's just something that works. Okay? And if you really want to make it work, put on some fucking music, do some moves, do some dancing, whatever. Okay? Change your physiology, because that ultimately, that motion creates emotion. Okay? Basic shit. So that's kind of how you're gonna fill up that cup. Now obviously there's more complicated stuff you can do. There's like specific NLP patterns you can look into, but this is really the basic shit you can do yourself. And I want to reiterate this. Someone came up to me last night at the seminar. He said, after it, he said to me like, listen bro, I mean this is a listen bro, but like, he's like, listen bro, like chill bro. Like, he told me that he loved how I spoke about kind of the fact that, you know, he was able to do this shit himself, right? It was not like, hey, you need me to make these changes. Like everybody here can make all of these changes yourself. Now, is it easier to work with a coach? Is it faster? Yeah, but like you can do it yourself. You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to put anyone in a position where you think you're broken, you need someone else to fix you. Okay? Even the hypnosis we did yesterday, if you really get yourself into a super relaxed state, focus, watch the recording to guide you, you can get yourself into it, guys. You can make these changes yourself. You have the power. Say power. Power. Say power. Power. Say power. Power. Say power. Power. Exactly. So you want to really realize that everything you need is inside of you right now. Say, everything I need is inside of me right now. Everything I need is inside of me right now. Everything I need is inside of me right now. Everything I need is inside of me right now. And that's some shit that you gotta have in your fucking brain. When I just talked about the self-talk before on the pyramid thing, on the three aspects of your state, it's like, if you say that shit to yourself, you get that in your nervous system. Like, yeah, fucking hell, bro. Like, everything I need is within me. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you gotta understand, all the things that you want to achieve come down to the emotional state that you can generate to be able to move into that and to be able to take those actions. And as we talked about yesterday, that's what I fucking started off yesterday with. Who remembers this? I said, and this is what I'm saying, like I didn't prepare shit, but Owen mentioned one thing of like, if you buy a new jacket, the anticipation of the jacket is giving you the fucking rush of good feelings. The anticipation of having that sweet, sweet cappuccino in the morning is giving you the sweet feelings, right? But that means that you haven't even drunk the alcohol or the cappuccino and you already feel good because you're about to, right? And that anticipation, that fucking proves to you that you can generate these feelings in your own body if you, number one, give yourself the permission, and number two, have the right mental strategy to do so. Using these principles that I've guided you through, like visualizing things, like carrying your body in a certain way, etc., and stepping into a different belief system and identity. Is that all super fucking clear? Yes. Is that all clear? Yes. Is that all clear? Yes. So it's super important to realize that and get yourself in that state of mind, because that's ultimately going to lead to the actions. And not just to the actions, but also to the way in which you do the actions. And that's really the big piece, guys, because anyone can say, like, oh yeah, take more action. But ultimately, as we talked about a lot yesterday, right? The identity that you're coming from when you're taking the action determines how and determines your sub-communication or whatever it is that you're trying to do, right? The quality. Like, even if you're working, even if you think right now, motherfucker, I do e-commerce. Ain't nobody listening to me? You're full of shit because you're doing a creative process. Like, I'll give you a great example. I have some clients that do e-commerce or whatever. They sell products and shit, yeah? And so they gotta, let's take this example. Your RAS dictates your focus, right? Your focus dictates what you see, what you don't see, right? And that dictates then what you choose, what you don't choose, etc. Like what's in your visual view. So let's say that someone here is in e-commerce. And let's say that you're going through websites or lists trying to pick out products. If you're picking out products from a perspective, from an identity, and this might sound slightly vague, but it's really true. If you're picking out products, going through a list, from the identity, from a place that you're coming from, a six-figure kind of mindset, right? Like, oh, I'm just someone who does this. I'm not that level. Like that guy over there that I see on social, that's another thing. You know, that's not me. Now you're gonna see your RAS, because you have that belief system of identity, is only gonna show you the products that could get you only that result maximum. That make fucking sense or not? Yeah. And it's the same shit that I said yesterday with the luck experiment, with people seeing the $100 or not. It's their fucking belief system that allows them to see it or not, allows them to be richer or not. Does that make sense? Yes. So what's the most important thing to check in on? Your beliefs. Say beliefs.
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 Okay, so once again, fill up your cup using those things, check in with those beliefs, and now you're gonna come from a much more empowered place. Ibra, just give me a heads up, like on time or whatever. I don't know what time Sid is gonna hop on. He got headphones on?
Sid should be coming in about 45 minutes.
Ah, we got some time, eh? Let's open it up for like a question. I've spoke for a long time. Let me give you the chance to just pop out a question or a topic or anything you want to know. Hit it.
How you doing, Boyd? Just curious, what do you personally do for self-recovery and just self-care? How do you wind down? What do you do to take care of your body?
So you mainly talking about, yeah, body, right? So yeah, like what I do is actually something that Owen talks about a lot, and me and Owen also talk about. Like we go to the Banya together and shit like that. Yeah, so it's like things that I do to do some active recovery are just mainly it's things like, you know, a lot of people think they're recovering when they're watching Netflix, when they're watching a movie that's super high tense. Bro, you're filling your body with anxiety. Once again, your mind, tying this into the other lessons, your mind cannot tell the difference between something that, you know, you really imagine versus something that's really happening. And when you're in a movie, the reason you're very present is because your mind is from millions of years old, guys. Your mind cannot discern you're looking at a fucking screen. Your reptile brain does not know what a fucking screen is. It just knows information that's coming in. So it thinks you're in that movie. So if you're watching like horror movies and shit, it might get you out of your head, but it's producing a lot of cortisol, anxiety, whatever. I mean, unless you're a real tough motherfucker, I guess. You're just chilling. But like, for example, I was with a girl hanging out, before I came here. And then she was like, oh yeah, I love watching horror movies. I am watching that shit. And she was like, oh, are you scared of it? I'm like, no, I'm not fucking scared of it, but it's just not a nice hormone to have in my body, like stress, cortisol, anxiety, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just like with all these moments like, whatever. It's just not, why would I want it? That's not conducive to the things that I'm trying to do. Even shit that I watch on Netflix or whatever, if I do, which I don't really do it myself, but if, in that kind of a scenario I will, it's just like some shit that it's fun, it's good, it's giving me good emotions, or it's something where the actor is someone that I respect or relate to an extent where, like, if I see them acting a lot, oh, that's like, look at his cadence, look at his tone, I love how he speaks, whatever, right? Like these types of things, so you can actually kind of, learn something from it and have a good role model in that sense, potentially. So either way, to answer your question, that's kind of like why I don't do those things as much. But what I will do is I do meditation, I go to the sauna, right? I get a lot of massages as well. It's great. And then also, guys, get sleep. Like, sleep is a big thing as well. Don't overthink it. But yeah, get like 8 hours of sleep. Like, even Tony Robbins, who's someone that's a big guy that always says, don't sleep too much, blah, 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 right? Sleep like 4 hours for years. As he's been losing his fucking hair and shit, like he's also now sleeping 8 hours, 6, 7, I think he said, right? It's a big thing. So sleep honestly is a big thing. And what I would say, bro, is like, this is kind of, we really need some fucking paper, but, huh? Like you're saying, let's see. Take this shit. Oh shit, I'm gonna break this shit. Is that gonna bend? You could just rip this shit off, right? All right, so there you go. So basically, guys, shit. How I kind of look at this, kind of give you some more, kind of practical day-to-day type of stuff, is I divide my life into like 3 buckets. And so the 3 buckets are, number 1, anything that gets me closer to my goals. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, anything that is like, let's say, a meaningful experience. Meaningful experience. Okay, let's say a beautiful dinner with friends. Let's say going into nature, any of these types of things. And then let's say number 3, which is recovery. Okay? Now, what you put in these things can be different for anyone. For me, obviously getting closer to my goals is like, business, whatever, like I'm doing right now, speaking, right? Any of these types of things. Could even be going to the gym, could even be meditating, gets me closer to my goals, right? Then meaningful experiences could be go out, right? Could be go into nature. Owen's been trying to get me into his woods trips for months now. He keeps saying to me, boy, you gotta go find mushrooms in the woods. I keep saying, Owen, I'm in the Hollywood Hills, I'm peeping. I don't want to go to the woods, bro. It's been a running joke because like if you're in a different stage of life, obviously I'm much younger, like, you have different priorities and we've just been kind of joking around about it. Funny shit. But anyways, then the last one is recovery, right? So recovery feeds into sleep, just anything that makes you more able to do these things at a higher level, right? So sleep, sauna, massage, any of these types of things. So this is actually a great thing on a lower level of the hierarchy that I talked about yesterday, right? Where you have your identity, you have your environment, you have your habits, blah, 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 behavior. This is actually kind of sketching out what your life is supposed to look like and what you can and cannot do. So the purpose of this is to kind of eliminate that bullshit that it's like it serves no purpose. Scrolling on social media, for example. And it just creates a visual example for you to really see, does TikTok, guys, yes or no, does TikTok fit into any of these buckets? No. Fuck no. Fuck that shit. Okay? So what I'm saying is like, look at these buckets and then don't do anything that's not in the buckets. Now, how do you not do anything that's in the buckets? Because that's the real, more important issue of like, but I want to be on TikTok. Well, it's, obviously everything that we've talked about yesterday. Literally everything we've talked about yesterday. It's the emotional aspect. Makes sense, right? Yesterday we talked about emotional aspect. Today we're some more like high-level strategies. Okay? Makes sense? Yeah? Yeah. So that you can actually write this out for yourself, after the seminar, like number 1, getting closer to my goals. What is everything that's going to get me closer to my goals? And then you can break this down further. So you can have within business, like let's say that you're going into the business bucket. Within the business bucket, right, you can have these different things that you're doing in the business bucket, right? Okay, sales, okay? Like if you actually want to grow your business, best thing you can fucking do is like define where you want to get to, let's say 100 grand a month, as an example. What do you need to do to get to that level, okay? How many clients do I need to get at what price point to be able to make that happen? And then just make it super simple. I'll give you like a little short business thing, it's very simple. If you're trying to get to 100K a month, which by the way, honestly, in this day and age, guys, is not fucking rocket science, okay? I understand that for a lot of people it might sound arrogant or some shit, but I literally did that shit when I was like 20, okay? Fucking high school dropout at 20. So raise your fucking standard. And I'm saying that for a specific purpose. I'm not trying to shit on you, I'm trying to raise your standard. So, because you can, okay? Sometimes you need an example to do that. So anyways, it's like, okay, what do I need to be able to do that? Okay, I need one fucking service or product. Don't overcomplicate shit. Okay, if you're in a consulting business or any type of service business, this is the truth. If you're doing e-commerce, depends on what type of business you're running, right? It might be different. If you're starting a brand, it is gonna be this, one product. If you're gonna be like doing drop shipping and generalized drop shipping stores, it might be different, okay? That's not my specialty. Like, because it's not really a real business, just drop shipping shit, in my opinion, honestly. So, yeah, you're not building a brand, guys. You're not building a future thing. Unless you're then going into private labeling those products and then building a brand name, it's just a cash flow business, which is fine. It's good to start somewhere. And build up your skills. I actually recommend you start at a low barrier to entry thing. Like, don't start with a software business or some shit. Because it's high investment, high skill. Start with a service business or whatever, right? Some shit that's easier. You don't have to really put money into it. Like for me, I was flat broke, but I just, I did make some investments in myself with the little money that I did have left and the resourcefulness that I had at the time. But it was like 3-4 months until, like, for 3-4 months, I made like $500 or something. And then I really started to make serious money. And actually, the funny enough, right before, I can't say for sure if it had a connection, I think so. But right before I started getting 1,000 a month clients, I invested myself into like 1.5K a month coach. Okay, but just for 1 month because I only have 1.5K I could come up with. I made a deal with him. And then right after that, like a week after I got my first client, for like 500 a month, the second month it came to 1K a month. Then I got a new client, and then I got him for 1K a month, and then I got a friend of his for 1K a month, and then I got another one for 1K a month. The first one, I fucked it up, fair enough. So, I lost that one in all fairness, but then I was at 3K a month, and then I moved to Bali, I was making 4K a month, whatever. I told you the story. So anyways, it's getting one service, okay? Now, how do you dictate the service? How do you choose the service? By the way, do you guys want me to kind of go into this a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, put your hand up if you do. Okay then. So, how do you decide that service? I'm gonna come back to the 3 steps, but the service you should really decide by looking at, first of all, what are your passions, okay? Like, what is shit, or let's say expertise, or let's say gifts, okay? To kind of give you a few different words to make it make sense. So, what things are you good at? What things do you spend time on watching on YouTube? Obviously, you're gonna eliminate YouTube, but, for the purpose of this exercise, where does your time go? What has your interest, etc. And then, the second thing you're gonna do is like, how can this thing kind of like solve a problem, okay? Like solve a problem, or other way you could put it is bring value, right? To people or to businesses, for example. So what I did, I didn't really do, a big passion of mine, but like I just found out like I could provide value. So it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Over time, you get closer to your ultimate purpose and passion, okay? And what you're really supposed to be doing. That's why I started out with marketing, built a great business, moved more in towards psychology, performance coaching, etc. And I found that fucking great. And now I just have different companies going on. It's great, right? But you can only, like, the OG Steve Jobs says, you can only connect the dots looking backwards, not forwards. It's a big key. Because a lot of people try to connect that shit looking forward. Like what I always tell people is like, business and success is kind of like being on a road in the desert where you're driving on a road, in a road, and basically there's no lights on the side of the road. And your car gives you like vision for the next 10 meters. I don't know how much feet that is, but whatever, right? The next 10 meters. If I'm out here, the driver, right, and I'm trying to look at like a kilometer out, I'm probably gonna crash in the short term, am I not? Right? Because I'm trying to look over there and it's even dark there. I can't even see that, and I'm gonna crash here because I'm not looking in front of me. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna take the steps that are right in front of me in this vision, for what I think and what I think to know that's right to do right now, I do that. And then my car moves up, right? My beautiful car moves up, and now I'm gonna have some more vision. And I'll tell you, take this in as a belief. Write this down and take this in as a belief. If you go by that principle, if you connect the dots just one by one, you will get to the place you're supposed to be at. But if you're trying to overthink it, if you're trying to manipulate the universe in a way where you're not in a position to do that yet, you're gonna fuck yourself over. You can trust me on this, where I have wasted millions of fucking dollars on doing that shit that I just said you shouldn't do. So take that belief system and always remind yourself of that, because it's a big, big sabotage. A lot of entrepreneurs get stuck for years. I've done it myself, okay? After I went down from the 100K a month, like I had to build everything back up, but it took me quite a while because I was overthinking shit. What should I do? Blah, 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 right? You just gotta take some fucking action, guys. It rarely is the case, fucking almost never is the case, that taking action towards something is really gonna negatively impact you. You know what I mean? Like, even if, like, let's give a social example, even if, like, you know, you see someone and you're not sure if this person is right for you, right? You're not sure if this person is looks-wise beautiful enough or whatever, but you just go up and talk. What negativity really can happen if it then ends up not being nice? You push yourself out of your comfort zone. You talked. You did some shit, okay? What negative shit can really happen? The negative shit happens when you stay here and you keep thinking about it and analyzing, should I not, blah, 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 right? All that can happen is you can gain a few experiences, and with the mindset stuff that I've taught you this weekend, you're gonna be able to label any experiences as positive, and you're gonna be able to kind of hypnotize yourself into being the identity still that you need to be, so you don't have to be afraid of anything. A big secret to being ultimately confident is eliminating the downside. You know what I mean? It's like when there's no downside anymore, now there's only upside, okay? When you make the downside okay, you have all this confidence because there is nothing that could even be a problem. There is no anxiety, right? Like a lot of people have a pattern of focus. Go into a little side tangent here. A lot of people have a pattern of focus when they go out of like their primary question, like as humans, we always have this primary unconscious question that we ask ourselves. Their primary question, write this shit down. It's good shit. It's good shit, guys. God damn it. I'm fucking on fire today. Your primary question that you're asking yourself, usually most humans, is like in every context, like how can I make myself most comfortable right now? How can I feel most pleasure right now? How can I avoid rejection? How can I avoid being embarrassed right now? That's the point of focus. That's going to create a lot of anxiety. Also in a sales meeting, how can I sell this person, right? How can I close this deal? If that's your point of focus, there's now a downside that you don't close, and that's not going to be okay. If your point of focus in a sales meeting, for example, different example, is going to be, okay, how can I most qualify this person and just be there to help this person provide value? And if I can truly help them and provide value, I'll just offer and invite them to join me. That's it. And it's up to them from there. Obviously, there's some things you can do, getting them out of a comfort zone, whatever. It's your job and purpose as a coach, as a service provider, whatever, to get someone to take the right action. Yeah. If that's truly going to grow them, but their comfort zone is holding them back, there's still things you can do and questions you can ask to get that leverage for themselves, not for you, not manipulative. The difference between manipulation and persuasion or influence is intent, okay? The intent that you have behind it. If you're like getting leverage on someone by asking, hey, what would happen if you don't take action on this? How would your life look a year down the road? Now you're creating leverage. What would happen if you do take action and invest in yourself right now? Okay, what would it look like down the road? You're kind of doing the two paths. You're doing some verbal hypnosis, like in consciousness, right? It's some powerful shit. But if you're doing that, but you know that you're going to serve this person and get them the result, it's completely fine. You're helping that guy. If you're just trying to get someone's fucking money and then scam them and not give them what they fucking paid for it, that's a different thing. That's manipulation. That's scamming people. Who understands that difference, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So, look, getting back to this. Basically, if you have these things, the last thing you want to look at is like, if you have a certain passion, a certain expertise, a certain experience in it, and you have something where you can solve the problem, is you want to also look, is like, and truly provide value in that. Is there really a market for it? Okay? Because it might be for some people, and also, does that market have some motherfucking dough, guys? Okay? Do they got the bread? So that is important as well, because, like, for example, this is years ago, but it's a great example. There was a guy in one of my old programs. I'm talking about like 3-4 years ago. And I remember this because it's a great example of it. He wanted to start a marketing agency. So, he was on the group coaching calls, and I was doing them at the time. And then he was basically saying, I feel like my uncle has a snack bar down the street in my little village, right? I mean, I don't think his uncle is really making fucking the dough. Like he might got the fries, but he ain't got the dough. So basically, that's not someone who's going to be buyer capable. But not only that, for that market, if he's going to run ads for his local village town, like fry producer or whatever, snack bar, how much fries can you fucking sell? You know what I'm saying? To get that guy a return. If you're going to run advertisements for him, like you need to produce more money than you ask from him. So you need to find businesses where the value of a customer is significantly high so that you can actually give them so much value so you can ask so much. Business is just about giving more than you're asking for, and then you're going to have a deal. Make sense?
Yes.
So you're going to want to find that sweet spot, okay? And then from there on, if you have a skill and expertise, we actually help people with this in one of my companies, like start a consulting business, coaching business from scratch. And it's kind of like, if you find that sweet spot, you're going to dedicate yourself to that niche for a while until you level up your expertise, right? So you can start helping people with that. Then from there on, you're kind of just going to choose the market, right? You have kind of your solution, your thing that you're offering, and that is going to solve one problem. So the service is it solves one problem for one market, okay? I help lawyers stop smoking, or I help personal trainers get 5 to 10 extra clients a month for social media advertising. That used to be my old slogan, right? And I'll tell you, because that's years ago once again, but it's like a very practical, understandable thing. So I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown so you just have an example of what this looks like. So let's say that you wanted to start a marketing agency. Could also be a coaching business, but let's go with marketing agency for now. What I did is my very beginning, I did realtors, but my kind of niche was fitness, personal trainers, right? Because it was kind of like, I had a little bit of passion for it. I knew what to do, The 3 things we just talked about. A personal trainer usually charges let's say $250 to $500 a month. Okay, in person. Now, what I would do is they would basically get between 5 and 10 extra clients per month, okay? So what I would say is how long, I remember this shit, it's funny, how long on average does a client stay with you if they sign up? And they would usually tell me on average it's 9 months, okay? So, okay, it differs obviously, sometimes 6, sometimes 9, whatever. Can someone get a calculator for me? So let's say 9 months, okay? So if they're paying this, can someone give me 300 times 9? How much?
2,700.
Okay. So this guy makes $2,700 for every client that I give him. Does that make sense? It's called the LTV of a customer, lifetime value, LTV. Now, that LTV means if I bring him between 5 to 10 clients, okay, so can someone calculate this times, okay, let's lowball it. Let's say this times 6.
16,200.
So basically I'm giving him every month that I bring in 6 customers, right, and it's between 5 and 10, I'm giving him 16K, more than 16K in value that he's going to get over the next 9 months. Now, obviously, time is always also an aspect. Over the next 9 months is not as valuable as today. So that means that I'm not going to say I'm going to charge you 10K and then you're still going to make 6K, because time is also an aspect to it. Make sense? Yes. But what I can say is listen, bro, I'm going to charge you just 1K a month, okay? I'm gonna charge just 1K a month to have my team run your ads and bring in these people, and then you're gonna get around about that number in your business every day. Now, if we don't produce the leads, not the sales, because he's got to do the closing. I can't take responsibility for everything. But what I would usually say is like 30 leads a month, okay? We would say 30 high quality leads a month, and then from 30 leads, between 5 to 10 clients is usually the conversion rate, okay? 10 to 20%. Make sense? Yes. So I would say this, and then I would say, in the beginning I didn't even, but like I started saying it after that, is like, if we don't perform this, I'm gonna give you your money back, okay? If I give you only 15 leads, I'm getting 50% of your money's back. So how sweet of a fucking deal is this? If you're a personal trainer, you see this, and I also have some results to back this shit up. And I tell you, if I don't perform, you're gonna get your fucking money back, partially, at least. Who's gonna take that deal? Exactly. So this is kind of what you want to be thinking of. You want to make your offer to in a way where it's like, it's hard to say no. You know what I'm saying? And then when I have people on the call, because for some personal trainers it's a lot of money, right? I started charging $1,500 a month at some point, like after my first couple clients, and plus $500 a month in ad spend. That's what I used to do, okay? Once again, this is years ago, okay? But it's a great example for kind of starting out. And so I would charge that $2K a month. Right? And I would just have all these calls with these personal trainers, or like meetings that I would go to, and then obviously I ended up going to bigger companies after that. But that was the starting point. And then obviously, what I would always say to these guys, if they gave me a hard time, like, oh, it's a lot of money, whatever, I said, listen, do you think rationally, because you're an entrepreneur, right? As an entrepreneur, you make rational decisions. Just it's a calculation, right? And they'll be like, yeah, of course, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I'm identifying them as an entrepreneur. Now they are operating and thinking from that identity. It's all coming back, guys. You did it for yourself. Now we're talking about how to influence other people with this, okay? So I'm identifying him, I'm putting the label on him. You're a rational thinking entrepreneur. What I'm really saying is, if you see that it's $1 into $10, you're not gonna be stupid and say no. That's what I'm really saying, but I'm not. You see what I'm saying? So basically, from that point, what I say is like, okay, so let me ask you this. Going off of that then, do you think that this service, if we were to really collab and do a monthly service in this, would give you more money than you invest into this? Looking at the calculation we just did. And he'd be like, yeah, of course. I mean, numbers don't lie, right? And I was exactly, right? And in case it doesn't, do you feel confident in that? Obviously, we'll do this for you, we'll give you money back if it doesn't. Like, you can even say that. I don't even have to, but you could even say that. So then, he just identified that he is someone who makes rational, number-wise decisions. Now, I just got him to confirm that it's a rationally positive investment. What the fuck is he gonna do now? Say no? He can't, right? And obviously it's not about pushing someone into something that they don't want, but this is where it comes down to, like, this person knows it's something they should be doing. It's just a bit of the nerves of making an investment. It's just a bit of the nerves of like holding you back, the comfort zone, as we talked about yesterday. So how do I get him out of his comfort zone? Creating leverage, getting the data, getting him to confirm himself, getting him, most importantly, to identify with a version of himself that is gonna achieve those goals. Right? And something else that you want to think of for yourself, but also if you're trying to influence people, is like, listen, bro, you're at point A. You want to get to point B, okay? Obviously, you have a current personality, talked about this a million times, and you have the person that you need to be, okay? So if you want to get to B, you're going to have, the formula is, you're going to have to make decisions from this identity, okay? So if you're right now in my fucking sales meeting, right? And I'm talking to you, I'm showing you this plan, but you're deciding from this identity, oh, I'm not gonna do it because blah, 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 right? Some bullshit reasons, because you're operating from your comfort zone, you're gonna get the exact same results because you are thinking, deciding, and taking actions from this identity. Make sense? Yes. Say identity. 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 So you want to let go of that bullshit paradigm, and you want to take decisions and actions from this identity. Okay, if you want to get to 100 grand a month, think and make the decisions that someone that's making 100 grand a month would. Okay, if you gotta invest 5 figures into something to really get there, and you really have the certainty that it will work. Don't invest in some bullshit, obviously. If you really think 2 out of 10 that it will work, right, because the guy is just not that legit or he hasn't shown you any results, don't fucking do it. Don't be stupid. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, like I just showed you, right, don't let your comfort zone hold you back. Because ultimately, every action, it comes down to decisions. And it comes down to what place are you making decisions from. Even if you're gonna clean your room or not. It's coming from a decision, and that decision is coming from an identity. That's everything we've talked about this weekend. Does that make sense? Yes. Can I get some water here, guys? Any questions on this? Or anything we've talked about today, really? And I'm going to dig into the 1, 2, 3 steps that we did as well.
I got one.
Yeah, hit me.
So you did mention that, you know, in your home country that a documentary was made about you, so obviously you're a pretty unique case. So, and you also mentioned that you had a tumultuous childhood. There's plenty of other people that have had, I'm sure, similar experiences in their childhood. What do you think separated you from other people to make you go on this journey of self-growth?
Ultimately, bro, it really comes down to like my interpretation of what happened to me, you know what I'm saying, and what didn't happen to me. So it's like, okay, like I'll give you an example, okay, a little bit personal, but I have a sister, and she's someone who's, you know, she's my sister, okay, great, but I'm just saying, she gave everything a different meaning than I did, okay? So all the traumatic events, all the stepfathers that we had, all the people that have left us, all the bullshit, right? She gave to it the meaning, I'm a victim, I can't do anything about this. It's your fault, mom, dad, whoever, family, blah, 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 that I can't do shit, okay? I'm broken, blah, blah, blah. These types of things, not saying that's exactly it, not trying to speak for her, just trying to help you by giving you a practical example. So, I can only say that for me, what I know for sure is I gave these things the meaning of like, you know, I need to figure shit out. I never had a fucking dad role model, okay? And the ones that I did have for a short period of time, you know, weren't the best. Let's put it that way. So I had to figure shit out for myself. And I'm happy that I had to, right? Because it pushed me to, at a very young age, develop things. Like, someone asked me last night, like, hey, when did you kind of like know about Owen or something? It was when I was like 16, 17. But I was already, look, I'll tell you an event that happened to me, and that's when I started really thinking critically. And it was like, when I was, it's a funny story, I was in elementary school, you call that over here. And, you know, must have been maybe 10 years old or some shit, I really don't know, but elementary school, right? Like 3/4 of elementary school. And it was like, I had this teacher who I was madly in love with, okay? And pretty hot. So anyways, she's called Nina. Hi, Nina. So anyways, basically, that's gonna be funny if she actually sees that. But I was super in love with this teacher, and I was like trying to do everything right. You know, I was actually, like how I present myself today, like if you guys would actually see a picture of me, how I used to be, I'll actually put it up, why not? Then, you know, you'll kind of, you'll understand this and it'll start to click for you. But basically, I was always told like, hey, if you want people to approve of you, if you want love, or if you want recognition, you know, do this and this and this, do X, Y, Z, do your homework, pay attention in class, and blah, 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 right? So I was always doing this, being a good kid, and then, not always, but it's kind of like with her in the class, whatever, yep. And then, at one point, we got our diplomas, and, or like our yearly reports it was actually, because it wasn't the end of the school yet. And so basically, when we got these reports, it's like, she starts handing it out, and every person she gets to, she gives like a few pointers, like a little story about the person, and then the whole class is supposed to guess the person. Got it? So everybody was like guessing people. And then she got to me, and it was just like, oh, this guy is good at like you know, some of these like geography or some shit, right? Like some random shit. And then basically, like, I just got my report. That was pretty much it. Like, oh, this guy's good at this, that, works hard, whatever, and I got my report. No respect, no laughs or anything. This is me, by the way. Damn. So I'm gonna just show people. It's this on the, this would be the left side. Yeah. Just like to give you an idea. Like I wasn't pimping, but I got there, guys. I fixed my teeth. So anyways, like I like to give people actual examples. Like you'll notice in my talks I give actual real kind of examples and stories because it makes it real for people, right? People can talk a whole bunch of shit, but it's kind of like, that's what I used to think at least. Do you guys agree? Like if someone's talking a bunch of lessons, like it helps to kind of actually see some data of it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Some actual stories. But either way, so this happened, right? And then it got to another guy, and this was kind of like the clown of the class, or like in the cool way, right? Like the popular guy of the class at the time. Like got all the girls, was always like fun and having drama and shit. And then with this guy, she starts, talking like long and shit like that. And it's like, oh, this guy's always having fun in class, maybe too much fun. Ha ha ha, everybody laughing, like, oh, it must be that guy. You know what I'm saying? And he got all the fucking attention, right? And she's like giving him a hug and shit, and like, all this work, god damn it. Not really, but like kinda, internally. So anyways, it for me, like I'm making it, expressive to joke around, but like for me, it really it planted the seed, like bro, fuck, what my mom tells me, what society tells me, the standard, I always call this the standard, right? The standard that's, kind of like perpetrated as what you're supposed to do and shit is not really always gonna get me the result that I'm really looking for, right? Which was obviously like getting some validation or respect or like building a relationship with that teacher. So anyways, it's like, I went to my mom at that point to really give you an idea of how low I fucking was. Mind you, I was young, right? But I went to my mom, and then it was just me and my mom at the time, right? So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I fucking worked all year. I do my goddamn homework. I shut the fuck up in class. This is not how I spoke, but you get the point. So I keep my fucking mouth shut in class and shit, and I get to it, and I get no recognition, no respect. What the fuck? And I was like super depressed about it. And obviously my mom calls up the school, the principal, calls up fucking teacher Nina, and I'm like, shit, And then now she's obviously like, oh, I'm sorry, whatever, like blah, 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 right? But that's not the way that you want something like that. It was super shitty. And then I have a ton of examples like these. Like I used to have it to a point, and I'm just trying to relate to you guys because you guys might see like, oh, talking about $100,000 a month, like fucking cool ass, like, it's not relatable, but like this is genuinely how I grew up. That's why I had so much drive to answer your question to actually do this shit. So like another example is like in my school, that was when I was even younger, like maybe 8. You would have this on Monday. You would basically have this round that you do it in the class, where everybody gets to raise their hand, and then the teacher first picks someone to tell the story of their weekend, something fun that happened in the weekend, okay? Like actually not a bad exercise, because it gets you to focus on like good stuff. But anyways, you have to tell like a story about some shit that you did that's like cool, or you were proud of, whatever. And then nobody ever fucking picked me to do the shit, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody ever picked me to tell my story. And then at one point, I was like, I'm done with this shit, And because I had built like this sick ass Lego truck at home over the weekend, I was like, this time I'm gonna show them motherfuckers. And I still didn't get picked, right? So it's like, because basically what happened, the teacher picks the first one and then they get to pick someone else in the class. And then nobody would ever fucking pick me. And then I went to my mom and I told my mom, nobody ever fucking picks me. I never get to tell my story. Like actually it was like sad stuff. Like for a little kid, that shit's like traumatizing. Like imagine what that does to your self-worth. Nobody in the class picks you. You know what I'm saying? You get last picked at like when you're doing like sports in gym class and you have to choose the teams and everybody's sitting on the couch and like you stand up and you're always the last one on the fucking bench. This shit sucks, bro. But anyways, it gives you leverage, right? And like it allowed me to know all these things that made the changes, right? So if I was already a G, like when I grew up, I was it internally, but I just wasn't really there, you know what I'm saying? Then I wouldn't have all this knowledge I could share with you about me becoming that, right? For me, it's way more impressive. That's why I don't care about sharing it. For me, I'm just being truthful, right? It's more impressive for someone who started there, or fucking there from, to get there than from someone, who's already kind of there. So anyways, same with like rich kids or whatever, So either way, that's kind of what happened. And then, yeah, what actually happened was the mom that, like my mom, again, called the fucking school, talked to the principal and shit. And literally next Monday, I get to class. Oh my God, it was the worst moment ever. And the teacher says, I remember this like it's fucking yesterday. The teacher says to the whole class, so today we're gonna start the story train with Boyd because nobody ever fucking picks him. Bro! What the fuck? And I'm like super shy, like telling my story and shit. I was like, this is not what I wanted. Mom! God damn it. So anyways, to answer your question, that's what created the leverage in me. I was like, fuck this shit. You know, I'm a make this, I have to make this happen. You know what I'm saying? I had so much leverage in that perspective. And it took me a long time, right? Like when I would say when I was 14, I was really starting to, I kind of went on like, you know, a bit of a badass train track, like, you know, doing some like bad shit for money and whatever. But it did, you know, build a lot of like traits in me that period of time. And then, like after that, I started getting more into self-development. I started, you know, getting more into business and shit like that. I started really mastering my social skills, and I took that then into my business life. And then I started obviously growing from there. And then I started being more motivated also by pleasure, as I mentioned before, right? To find these things that can pull you forward more. And then, yeah, so that's kind of the answer to that question, right? Like what gave me that, whereas other people might have had similar situations, ultimately comes down to taking responsibility, right? It's like I didn't see myself as a victim. I always, not always, but like a lot of the times, and the global like what I attributed everything to globally was like, yo, I'm getting all this shit, like I just have to make this shit happen myself, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, there were super painful events, but ultimately I've, you know, like where I'm at my age, like there are very few people who get there at my age, right? So it's like, ultimately I'm grateful for those things. And you guys should be too, if you've had that shit happen to you. You know, it's painful, but like that shit really makes you be in a room like this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyone, any other question or whatever? Yeah.
Some of the like personal identities that you hold out or like highly value for yourself?
So repeat your question and do it louder.
What are some of the values that you hold?
Do it louder, bro. Like actual loud.
What are some of the identity traits that you hold highly for yourself? Like all the stuff you were telling us, what are like some personal examples for you? Like your own identity traits?
Yeah, so I mean, some of mine would be, you know, like things like discipline. Also a big one of mine is just, you know, confidence. But I say that because people know what it means. But it's really more courage. Because if you focus, like here we're talking about focus again, there's a lesson in this. If you focus too much on confidence, most people think of that as a feeling, right? If you're trying to focus on being that, you can't always, because it's a feeling. And the more that you're self-conscious, monitoring if you have it or not, the less you're going to be confident. If you're self-conscious, you're automatically not confident. So what I would focus on rather is something like courage. Like, give you an example. I was at my hotel last night, and I was having some dinner before I came here. And there was a beautiful lady standing at the bar with 2 of her girlfriends and 3 guys that were standing there. And she was like really someone that looked intelligent, classy to me. So I was like, it's a beautiful lady, like I want to go talk to her. And you know, she's a little bit older, and so is the group. And I was just like, obviously there's a little bit of anxiety in me, right? I'm like, you know, there's like 3 dudes, it's like a hella awkward situation, you know what I'm saying? Like just imagine it, like 3 dudes standing there, 3 chicks, they're all talking and you're just gonna interrupt there. And then it's like, and then I said, like, just get in there, bro. Courage over confidence. You know, get your ass in there. So obviously I woke up, I have a little bit of a chat. It's actually a great chat. And then she's like, oh yeah, I'm here with my husband. And this guy's looking at me like he wants to fucking kill me. But but I was just like obviously polite about it. It's like, hey brother, like, take it as a compliment, bro. Yeah, have some fun, have a drink. And then I fucked off because my Uber was there. So anyways, it's kind of like this courage over confidence. So that's something, right? If I wouldn't have done that, I would have cheated myself, right? Because there was an intention. You can write this shit down. I'm gonna almost quit because Ibra just gave me 5 minutes. If I can give you a big lesson, I would say this. Follow your intentions, control your impulses. If you do that, you're gonna be fucking successful. If your intentions are coming from a full cup, as we just said, if you're thinking true thoughts. If you're fooling yourself, you're not. But if you follow your intentions being You feel a thought that you want to say some shit. You say it. You don't hold yourself fucking back. You feel like you want to approach someone. You fucking do it. No matter what the situation is. Okay? If you got to then do a little bit of damage control, fine. If you are experiencing a little bit of discomfort, fine. Right? That's what I was talking about before with the locus of focus. It's kind of like if your focus is confidence too much, you might have not have taken action in that situation because you're not feeling as confident. Because it's a little bit awkward, bro. Like, or even how confident you are, like sometimes you're just gonna feel some anxiety. You can't control feelings to a fucking 100% T, right? So that's what you gotta focus on. And then if you shift that focus towards growing your confidence or growing your courage, right? Now you're automatically gonna take that action because you're gonna get a different answer. Right? You're not trying to protect yourself and avoid rejection. You're not trying to make yourself feel comfortable. You switch your primary question. That's what I'll end off with. If you switch your primary question, you're going to switch your primary focus. You're going to switch, therefore, your primary answers and decisions and therefore actions and therefore results. Does that make sense? Yes. So, most people, as I mentioned, and then I'm going to wrap up, have this primary question that is, okay, how can I feel most comfortable right now? How can I feel most pleasure right now? How can I avoid rejection right now? All these types of things. If you bring that out of your subconscious and bring it into consciousness, see it's unworkable and shift it to this. Every day you wake up, you ask yourself, how could I be most fulfilled at the end of this day? How could I be most proud of myself at the end of this day? Now you're looking at it over a longer timeline and a different emotional state you're trying to achieve. And you're going to get wildly different answers. You're not going to be watching Netflix because you're focusing on getting a different feeling. And that feeling is created by different actions. And those actions create different results. And that creates a different fucking life. So do that. And that was my chat for today.